That's true.
Well, we should. Hopefully.
All right. Says we're live.
Hmm. I don't see anything on It Tastes
Did the
Different.
URL change?
I didn't start it over here. Am I supposed to do
I
something
wonder
over
if you
here?
have to start it over there.
Oh, okay.
I wonder. I don't know.
I don't know either. Okay. So yeah, now it's
What's it
showing both of us, but man, there's a delay. Like a bad delay.
like? Like what do you like? What do you mean? Like I don't see where you could see live on YouTube. Did you actually
Um,
send it live?
yeah, I hit it. Now it's showing both of us. I don't see it either because if we go to our channel, I don't see anything
I don't see anything.
showing
It
up
says we're
there.
live neither. Oh, it says that we're live. Yeah, I see it right now. It shows live.
Oh, where at? Oh, if I hit live,
Yeah.
I don't even see anything under live.
This is weird to hear myself talking twice.
Where'd you go to find it?
I just went to our page, and
What?
then when you go to history, it shows the top
History.
under history. Yep. When I
I
look
don't
on the
even
left
see.
side,
I mean, did you go on your phone?
no, I'm on, no, I'm on the channel. Sure, there's two people watching. It's not you.
No. Um, history. Oh, history.
Now, there's
There's
three of
three
us.
people watch. That one of them might be me though. But the delay is like super bad. Why is the delay so bad?
Because it's streaming.
Yeah, but I mean, I see most people online. They don't seem like the delay's that bad.
But they're not listening to YouTube while they're doing it.
I guess that's true. All right, so I guess we'll be behind. So anyway, I guess we'll just
Did you leave it?
talk and go. I left it open so that way I could see if
The
um.
chat?
Oh no, yeah, I'm gonna leave it because I have the chat on the actual stream itself. So there's two concurrent viewers.
One now.
Oh, it hasn't updated. No, it still says two.
So
There's a
I wonder if
widget
I can
too.
log in and get on there as well, or will it kick you off?
It says the audio stream bit rate is lower than the recommended bit rate. We recommend you use an audio stream bit rate of 128. It says we're using 0.
Hmm.
And more.
Like, where do you live stream at? Where do you see the live stream when you go to?
Oh, there we go. I made it public now.
Oh, we shouldn't have done that yet.
And we don't have a thumbnail. I want to upload a thumbnail.
Just upload our logo.
That's what I'm doing.
Like, I wonder if I can log into the live stream account like you can.
You should be able to,
So where
I
do you go
think.
to start a live stream?
You hit the little camera at the top and you hit uh, go live.
But I wonder if that kills you doing live.
It
I don't
should
know.
just
I
take you
clicked it.
into the thing.
All right. Let's see what happens. Yeah, it mutes the audio, doesn't it?
Yeah. So I enabled live chat. I'm gonna put first
That's
time.
just loaded up for the first time.
All right, there we go. Now it's public. Except for it says we're the audio stream's current bit rate.
Where do you see that at? Stream settings or?
No, it just says it on the screen.
See, I don't see that.
Yeah, it was like a suggestion. It says enable DRV. What the hell's DRV? It says our stream status is excellent, but this
Oh, that's
is
good.
the current bit rate is. Let's see what Google says. What does Google say?
We don't have any concurrent viewers anymore. Nobody liked what we were doing.
If you aren't using a variable resolution entry point, you must use the exact bit rate for the resolution you choose on an ingestion settings page.
Well, we're set at 48 kilo. We're on our audio recording. We're set at 44 kilohertz.
It says we recommend you use a bit rate stream value of 128 kilobytes per second.
Yeah, see, there's not a kilobyte setting. It's a kilohertz. That's all we got.
So 44.1 kilohertz.
And we're at 44. We're at 44 kilohertz. That's what we are.
So we're making you a bit rate of 128 kilobytes per second. The current bit rate of the audio stream is. Please correct the sample rate for audio in the stream to 44.1 kilohertz. I don't know. Yeah, it still says
Oh,
the streams.
Well, it doesn't matter. We can hear it. We know it's good.
All right.
So,
Well,
so what did you? So on the PlayStation news we saw on the PlayStation State of Play yesterday or the other day, what was the Final Fantasy VII thing that they were talking about? Is that actually the second part of the Final Fantasy VII remake, or are they just putting together like a PS5 upscaling for it with like a little bit of extra story?
there. So and all it is a upscaling of the PS4 or the Final Fantasy VII remake, but on PS5, of course, they'll have 4K and better textures and resolution and all that good stuff. And then they announced on top of that there is a DLC for the game that will be coming out at the same time it comes out for PlayStation 5, the remake that introduces Yuffie, which is another character for Final Fantasy VII, as well as another character that I want to say he wasn't a main character in the Final Fantasy VII, but I believe he was a character in Final Fantasy VII, the original. He just was like a side character, but in this one he actually fights with you and stuff. But so that's really cool. The only problem with it is that um, it's only for those. It's only for PlayStation 5 owners.
Oh man, so the new version is just for PS5, right? Because I saw that PS4 players will get a PS4 owners who got it will get a free upgrade to it.
Right, they
So
can get a free upgrade to the PS5 feature set, right, with the high resolution stuff, but they don't get the DLC. So once you have to upgrade to
oh
the you have to upgrade your If you already own a copy, you have to upgrade to the PS5 version or buy the PS5 version outright, and then you can purchase the DLC for it once you have the PlayStation 5 version to play it on there.
Hmm.
And they just
That's
said, which we just saw tonight, that Final Fantasy VII Remake on PS5 will be $70,
right. I saw that.
which is like, why? It was $60
60.
on PS4. Why? I mean, if you're making these enhancements, that's one thing I like about in this case, in this kind of avenue. I mean, yeah, if you already have it on PS4, then you'll get it on PS5 for free, the upgrades and stuff. So that's good. Um, but I mean, why does it need to be $10 more? I don't understand that. Just because it's on
Right.
PS5, is that the only reason? I
I
mean,
guess. But if you bought it previously for PS4, you get it upgraded for free. But I
true.
guess really no. When you consider it though, when you consider it, you're not getting the DLC. You have to pay for the DLC. What's the DLC going to cost?
They didn't say.
So I wonder if the DLC is going to be like a $10 or $20 DLC if you own the game. So that's where the $70 comes from. So they're saying you get the game plus the $10 DLC, or maybe it's $15 or $20 DLC if you buy it by itself. So it's really kind of a deal if you don't already own it because it's 70. Whereas if you had to buy the $60 game plus the $20 DLC, it's $80 buy. But I don't know if there's that much story. But I mean, as one of our buddies Shane always complains, he says Final Fantasy VII Remake is full of fluff. So is it just a huge long fluff story that's 4 hours worth of story for $20?
I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, I would buy the DLC for it and play because I enjoyed the remake, but
I did too.
uh, I mean, I wouldn't have a problem with this if I do have a problem with it being $70 because I don't think there's a need for it to be $70 just because it's on PS5. However, I wouldn't have a problem with it because I do own it on PS4, so I wouldn't have a problem with it if I could find a PS5. I mean, that's the biggest problem I have, and I think a lot of people have is that's great and all, but you can't get a PS5. Like if I could go to the store or go online right now and purchase a PS5, then okay, sure. If you want to make it exclusive to PS5, then okay. But the fact that people are still having a hard time finding the console and being able to purchase it, it seems like a weird decision by Square Enix to be like, yeah, we're gonna make this a PS5 exclusive. Um, I don't know if it's timed or what, but right now it's a PS5 exclusive when you can't even find the console anywhere. I mean, it's almost impossible to get, and when it does show up, it sells out before you can even click buy, or add to cart.
Right. Yeah,
So,
I have that problem. I mean, I don't own one neither, and it's
right.
real sad because I want one. I've been trying to get one, and I still
Yeah,
actively do. I don't actively try as much as I did, let's say maybe a month ago.
right. Me neither.
Um, but I still follow a few Twitter accounts that say, hey, there's somebody selling one now. But I always seem to, I don't know, maybe my settings are wrong, but I always seem to get those like a few hours too late, and everybody's already bought them and paid for everything. So I miss out on those. So usually it's just luck of the draw when I happen to catch an article that says, "Hey, Target's having a sale, putting out a few stock tomorrow," or they'll say Best Buy is or GameStop. But it seems like all GameStop's putting out anymore right now is just bundles, which I wouldn't mind a bundle if it came with the Miles Morales because that's the game I really want right now.
Right.
Um, so I mean that the hard to find because there's a group of four of us, and I mean out of the four of us that play together pretty regularly, I think you and I are hounding the stores a little bit more than like Shane and Russ are to find a PlayStation. But the two of us that are trying as hard as we are to try to find one aren't having luck. It seems to speak volumes. I mean, how are these other people getting the luck of the draw? I mean, I guess I don't know. It's just they're getting the luck of the draw to get one. But what I wanted to say is it kind of brings me around to what I was going to say. Where what was it? Uh, what's his name? Ryan stated that 1 in 4 PS5 owners are new PlayStation owners.
Right.
I, that's kind of hard to swallow and understand because how do they know that? Are they basically basing that off of new Sony accounts? PS Now accounts or whatever they are now? You know, how are they basing that? Is what I kind of wondered.
Yeah, I kind of wonder that too, because you would think that the majority of people purchasing a PS5 would be those who own a PS4. Um, I mean, what was it? I mean, PS5 sold how many in the U.S.? Like 25 million or something like that, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe that was overall. I can't remember. I thought that was just U.S. only, but it may be overall. But still, I mean, that's a big portion of the population. So you're telling me that 1 in 4 of the PS4 population is owned by that bought a PS5 that didn't own the original? That just seems unlikely to me. It just seems like either these individuals are. I mean, because that's what, like 25% or something like that. I mean, these people are, um, either scammers, right,
Mm-hmm.
or that have purchased it and just if you're going off what you said, based on creating accounts, scammers, if they need to create an account to buy one, they're going to create like 100 accounts, or however many they need to just be able to purchase, um, to purchase the console. So I don't
Right. You know,
know.
I found a couple articles that talked about like PS5s and the number of CS5s sold are pretty low compared to like, you know, obviously PS4 has been out for years, so they've got a longer spin up time. But I don't know where they came up with that figure or how they got it because the number of PS5s sold is so minor in compared to how many PS4s were sold. So are they saying that the majority of the people, or not the majority, but 25% of the people who were able to purchase a PS5 never owned a PS4 and just got lucky to get one? So I don't know. You know, it's hard to tell how they're getting that number, and you know, I didn't find the article that outright said, you know, this was that, because I mean, I saw the article I read said like 4.5 million since the beginning of like February. PS5s have been sold 4.5 million. That's it. That's like worldwide numbers, I think. Um, so that's not a lot. PS5 sold when you compare like the number of PS4s that are sold. But like I said, you had a longer ramp up time for that type of stuff. It's just interesting to me, and I'd like to see where they get that information from so that we can make a determination on is this really valid, or where the information's coming from. As I just don't know.
Right. Yeah, I would agree. It's hard to say where this is coming from. So, I mean, since we have
Because
no other viewers, just real quick. So, in our live stream, how our video is showing is the same. We're delayed on there.
well, yeah, it should be. I mean, it's it's always going to be delayed. I mean, nobody sees the. It's not instantaneous. It can't be instantaneous. Our video goes to, you know, it gets streamed to from Riverside um, to. I'm assuming the two concurrent is you and I. I don't know if that is or not, but um, it's got to get streamed to uh, YouTube from the conglomeration of, because we're streaming into Riverside and then they're streaming into YouTube. So I mean, there's going to be a delay.
All right. Okay. It just looks weird.
Yeah, I mean you can't watch it. I've not been watching. I've been watching the us
Well, I mean, I
streaming
watched
here,
it
and then
from my phone, and then it just seems like it's delayed. But anyway, what were
but
you
yeah,
talking about?
but I was just talking about like
What
where
the
that
heck
they're getting
happened?
their numbers from. Yeah, knocking everything down over here.
Knocking everything over. Yeah, I don't know where they're getting their numbers from. I mean, I don't think they said where the numbers are coming from. So, um, how these places get their statistics is, sometimes baffling on that information, is where those statistics are coming from. And they don't give any credence to where these statistics. They're like, oh, this is what's up, and you're like, okay, that's great and all, but where are you getting that from? And they never say. So who
Right, and then
knows?
they also don't say, you know, we don't know where they're, well, how they can say 1 in 4 new owners of PlayStation 5 never owned a PS4, it's hard to tell where that information came from.
Right.
So it's, you know, what about that new Pokemon game that they announced that we saw like a trailer for today?
Yeah, I mean that
It looks
looks
kind of like Breath of the Wild.
yeah, a little bit, which I wasn't a big fan of Breath of the Wild, but um, you know, that's it might be pretty good. I do like Pokemon. Um, I did buy the last Pokemon game on Switch, and it's pretty good. I haven't played it in a while. I've just been playing other stuff, so I haven't been able to get back into it. But I do enjoy it, and so it might be a pretty good game. Like I said, I wasn't really into Breath of the Wild as far as Zelda goes, but with it being Pokemon, it might be a pretty cool thing because with uh, with Breath of the Wild, um, that's Zelda, right? And so you're kind of expecting
Right.
something. You're expecting it to
Mm-hmm.
be a certain way. With Pokemon, Pokemon's kind of always been. They've always changed things up here and there. I mean, they had those RPGs like on the Game Boy and stuff, but then, even the new Pokemon on the Switch is kind of 3D, and it's kind of that same aspect, but it's more 3D and kind of more open world. So, you know, I could see it going to more of a Breath of the Wild style and actually being a pretty cool game. So, yeah,
Right.
it'd be interesting
Right.
to
So
see.
right, and what they call the new one? It was like
Um,
Pokemon Arceus or Arceus. I can't remember how to pronounce. I don't know how to pronounce that, but I remember seeing the thing about it, going, "Well, this is kind of cool," and watching some of the video, and I'm like, "Oh, this is Breath of the Wild Pokemon Edition."
yeah, right. Yeah, Pokemon
So
Legends, Arceus, I guess.
Arceus, yeah,
And then they also
yep, Legends
announced
Arceus. It's
because they had before, which was Diamond and oh
Brilliant or something. Was like
yeah,
that, wasn't it?
they had
Brilliant Diamond was what the
Brilliant
one,
Diamond, which is a remake I don't know if it's a remake or rehashing of
and then
Pokemon
Shining
Diamond,
Pearl,
and then uh, what was the other one?
Shining Pearl, I think was the other one, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
there you go. Which is I don't know if it's a remake or a rehashing of Pokemon Pearl.
Hmm. So yeah, so it, yeah, you're kind of going a little bit back to like um, the Final Fantasy VII remake we were talking about. Part two. I read something that have they not even started on part two yet, or because I keep reading information like the new director is like somebody. The director is somebody new from this series, and I'm like, have you not started on the remake part two yet?
I haven't heard anything, and I don't think they've said anything about them doing a part or having started the part two yet. I thought they said something about part two being in early development at some point after the Seven remake came out, but that was about it. That's all we've heard. So I don't know. They should have just brought it out as a full complete package. I don't know why they're. I guess maybe to make more money, but I don't know why they're a la carting it. So, but
Well, I mean, that means they can make $70 a pop. They make $70 off of part one, and depends on if they can stretch part two into part two and part three. They can make another $70 off each one, so or $60.
right,
So I mean, who knows if they're going to do that?
yeah, who knows,
That would be I would hate to see that, but
right? Yeah, for sure. But someone in the Mark in the comments said, "Do you know Nicholas?" I'm not sure. Last name?
there's a lot of
There's a lot of
Nicholases around.
Nicholases out there.
But yeah, I'm kind of curious about that because I mean it's been a while now. When did the Final Fantasy VII, the first part of the remake, come out? I mean it's been over a year now.
I don't think so. Um, let's see here. Final Fantasy VII remake release date. I thought it was April. Yeah, it was April 10th. So almost a
Okay, so
year.
it's not been. It feels like it's been over a year
Yeah, it's almost
since we
there. I mean,
played
we're
that
almost
one.
to April, so it will be a year soon. I mean, I don't suspect. You know, I I figure that the DLC is probably to really think about it. The DLC is probably to because they're going to be, I suspect 2022 or 2023 before we see part two of the remake. So I think the DLC is just
I
kind
don't
of a
want to
way
hear
for them
that.
to be like, here's a little something while you wait longer.
Right. I don't want to hear that, man.
Yeah,
It's hard enough to get a PS5 right now that I can't play games on PlayStation with right now. So
right.
I guess one of the good things about not getting a PS5 right now is, but maybe by the time I do get a PS5, like Miles Morales is going to be on sale, and then your remake of Dark Soul or remaster of the game predecessor to Dark Souls
Oh, Demon Souls, yeah.
was it Demon
That's what
Souls?
I want
Yeah,
a PS5 mainly. I
they'll
mean,
be
I
on
do want
sale.
Miles Morales as well, but my main thing is the Dark Souls or Demon Souls. Um, and then they have the what is it? April or May? I think the Ratchet and Clank, that new Ratchet and Clank game comes out.
Mm,
Which I've never been a big
yeah,
fan of
I'm
Ratchet
not a
and
huge
Clank,
fan of the.
but I mean it looks pretty cool. But yeah, I've never been a big fan of Ratchet and Clank anyway. I mean, I can see the appeal and I understand why people like it. It's just even back on the PlayStation 2 and 3 and stuff when that was really big with people, I never played it. So I know I have played one, but it's just never been in my ballpark as far as wanting to play.
Right. Yeah, I never cared much for them. I mean, they looked interesting, but it just wasn't not up my alley type of games I play. Uh,
Right.
so I mean, they just I don't know. I was quite underwhelmed with what was announced at the PlayStation State of Play. So I guess that's kind of a knock on the PlayStation State of Play. It's kind of underwhelming right now.
Yeah, I didn't know what to expect really, cuz they didn't really talk about the state of play until it was like what the day before is when we got the announcement about it. That's when I heard about it. It was that Wednesday and it was coming out that Thursday that state of play. So, I wasn't sure what we were going to see and unfortunately, we saw a lot of games that we've already seen before. So that was unfortunate because I was really hoping for something new. But I guess besides the Final Fantasy DLC, I think every game they showed off we had already seen before. So they did,
Hmm.
they showed off that Returnal, which a lot of people seem to be looking forward to. Which I don't know. For me, that game does not look. I just not interested in that one. Um, It looks
That's that
pretty.
weird like
I mean, don't get me wrong. It
horror
looks
first person
beautiful. It looks like a
shooter.
beautiful game, but it's just not one that even when they first announced it, it just wasn't one that I was interested in. It didn't grasp my interest, and it still hasn't. So
Right. And that's that like sci-fi horror looking game. I can't even tell from the trailers. I really couldn't even tell what it was.
yeah, you're like an astronaut that crash lands on some planet and stuff. And in the in the trailer, like, and then you die, and then but when you wake, everything is brand new. So I'm like, oh, okay, so it's procedurally generated then. Like, that's new. That's old. That's it's like that's stuff we've seen before, man. You act like the fish are swimming away from me. It's not nothing new. You just okay. So every time you die and reload it, procedurally generates the level that you're in. I mean that's cool, but I mean we've had stuff like that, so that's nothing new, unfortunately. But I mean, as far as the graphics,
Right.
though, the graphics look great. I mean, the game looks really beautiful. But again, it's just not one that I've just for me that my interest level is just at zero for it. I have no interest in it. So
Right. Yeah. I I don't know. I'm not into psychological horror games too much myself, so that's where it kind of
well,
get
it's like a
it
third
kind of get
person
interesting.
shooter, but with I think some horror
Right. But third
elements.
person like yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll like it.
I
Maybe
mean,
I
if it
won't. I
comes out
mean,
with really good reviews, and I have a PS5, maybe I'll check it out. But right now, it's made by a company I've never heard of, which is not always a bad thing, but sometimes it is.
right.
And it's
I mean, but SOE is the one
yeah,
publishing
they're
it,
pushing it
so
pretty
they
hard.
usually try to. Mhm. Yeah, it looks like the studio House Marquee has been 93.
Yeah, I'm sure
So
they have.
they made
I don't
Stardust
star. Oh, Stardust.
they,
Okay, I know that game.
on the Amiga and Atari.
Oh,
and then Super
Oh, I
Stardust,
know Superstar
and
does.
then
Yeah.
F. Yeah, that was on the CD32, the Amiga CD32
Mm-hmm.
one. And then they came out with they have quite a bit of titles
Mm.
behind them. They have Alien Incident in the
I've heard of
'96, and
that
then
one.
The Reap. I don't remember that
Mm-mm.
one. Supreme
Mm.
Snowboarding, Transworld Snowboarding,
Mm.
Gizmodo Motocross,
Mm.
and then they did Super Stardust HD,
Yeah.
and then Golf Tee It Up.
Mm.
But yeah, they did Outland, Super Stardust Delta, Angry Birds Trilogy from Activision. Activision published that one, and Resogun, and then Alien Nation.
Okay.
Remember that
Yeah.
one?
Alien Nation.
Next Machina and Matterfall. Matterfall. I remember seeing trailers of that one. I never played it. It looked really sci-fi with the
Huh.
robot.
Yeah. I've never.
So,
I mean, I've heard of a few of those games, but I mean, this is compared to those games. This is pretty ambitious for them. So, you know.
well, yeah. I mean, they haven't put out a game in 4 years, so
Well, I mean, hopefully it turns out good. I hope it turns out great for them. Again, it's not one that I'm interested in,
right.
but if it turns out to be a pretty good game, um, it gets high ratings and high marks and stuff, and people seem to really like it, then that might be one I'm like, okay, well, maybe I should check it out. Maybe I didn't give it that good of a look. So it just depends on how it
Right.
turns out.
Yeah, it's hard to judge that game because they're not a very popular
Right.
developer, or that's well known, I should say, not popular, but they're not very well known. And judging it off of just a few screen caps, I mean, it's supposed to come out this year, right? In April, I think you said. Um, you'd think we know a little bit more about it by now.
Yeah, they had a much longer trailer and some gameplay from the state of play, but again, it still didn't. It just kind of looked like your run of the mill like third person shooter. So I was like, eh. Um, so we'll see how it turns out. They also have that Kenna game, the Spirits of Bridge of the Spirits or Spirits of the Bridge or the one that Russ was
Yeah,
talking
that's one
about.
Russ
Yeah,
was gushing
the
over.
Last Airbender is what I call it. Because that's what it looks like. It looks like like a spin off of the Airbender anime. It
Hmm,
visually it looks
interesting.
pretty cool. Visually it looks pretty good. Gameplay wise, it looks okay. Again, it was another one that I'm just like, it's not really my up my alley. I probably wouldn't care much for that one. I mean, it might be good. I don't know. A lot of people in the chat seem to really kind of take a liking to it, but again, it's just one of mine that I'm like, like been
Right.
there,
Yeah.
done that is what it feels like.
It,
We've seen games like that. We've played games like that. Same thing with Returnal. It's like I've seen ones like that. I've played ones like that. Um, but
hmm.
if I were to pick one of the two, I'd probably play the Kingdom more than the Returnal one. If I were to pick one,
Yeah. It looks a little I don't know. It looks a little
it looks
kiddish,
like a very
but I mean
well
maybe
done
that's their target
Pixar game.
audience. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, that's a good idea for it. Pixar. If Pixar made a game, this would
right,
be their game.
exactly. That's kind of what it reminded me of and looked like. So it might be good.
So who's a developer on that? Ember
Again,
Labs.
another one I
Ember
haven't
Lab.
heard of. Now this one is a timed
Yeah.
exclusive. I don't know if they've confirmed that an Xbox version is coming out. I assume that there is because this one is a timed exclusive, and then they said that I've seen that online. They said timed, so that
Hmm.
one you might see come to Xbox and maybe Switch and stuff like that later on. So
Well, that's cool. Yeah. Um, it's I'm not a huge fan of exclusives. I want everybody to play everything, so I get kind of annoyed when I see, especially a timed exclusive, which means somebody paid money to keep something within their umbrella for a little while. It keeps things out of other people's play. So I don't like that as very much. I understand a little bit of some of it, but in this day and age, even like Sony and Microsoft, they all do it. But I can understand if it's a Sony Studios game, they're going to keep it in house, or if it's a Microsoft Studios, but Microsoft, or I should call them Xbox Game Studios now. Xbox Game Studios doesn't even always keep games under their umbrella, so it's becoming where companies should stop doing that more than enough. Because a game like a game like Kenna, Bridges of Spirits, is not going to drive me to buy a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox if I didn't have one, or a Switch.
Right. Exactly. And it's not going to. Right. You're exactly right. You know, there's no point in there's no point in making those games exclusive, just like you said, because they're not going to push hardware sales. So why make them exclusive? You should just make them for everyone, so everyone can enjoy them, because you know they're not going to do any more than just for the people that have those consoles, make them potentially want to go out and purchase one. But otherwise, it's not going to do anything. So it's kind of an odd
Right. And so,
thing to decide.
right. And I agree with that. Yeah, I mean, it's not going to do that for me. Very few games in history have made me go, I got to buy a console because of that game. And really, in all honesty, in the last 10 years, only one game has done that for me, and that's Horizon. I bought a PlayStation 4 for Horizon because I was like, I've got to play this game, and it is one of my favorite games of all time. But most of the time, games don't drive my console decision. It's where I want to play with my friends that drives my console decision.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Horizon was a great game, but yeah, that definitely. I mean, I like to play on everything, so eventually I'll buy all of it just to play play whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
you know, you're exactly right though. They have to have some piece of software that's going to drive that push for that game. And it's the same thing. Uh, the unfortunate thing is, or fortunate depending on how you look at it, is PlayStation does that really well, whereas Xbox is still lacking in that department. Something to push you to,
Mm-hmm.
besides us that like the Xbox and we wanted to get a Series X and we want a PlayStation 5 as well, we're going to get one regardless. But for those that don't have one, there's no piece of software for the Xbox in general that's really pushing that piece of hardware. That where people go, oh, well, I really need an Xbox for X, Y, or Z. There's really no need. There's nothing out on Xbox that I would say, oh, you should definitely buy one for this. So, I mean,
Yeah.
being a fan
Yeah,
of
I agree.
Xbox, still
I
there
mean,
ain't.
there.
If someone said, "Tell me the
Right.
one game that I should buy an Xbox Series X for," I'd be like, I don't know. I guess the Medium. That's the only Series X game I know of.
And it's the only, and that one's just on
That one
Microsoft, I
is only
guess.
on
I didn't pay
X and
attention to
S
that
and
one.
Windows, so you only buy it on those three.
Oh, okay. And I mean,
It
it was a
was,
good game, even for somebody like me who doesn't like horror games or psychological horror games.
yeah,
I
it
like
was a
it.
very good
So
game. So unless you're going
yeah,
to, and right now, I mean, even right now at this current state, there really isn't a PS5 game either, though. If you think about it, unless you want to play Demon Souls. I mean, because
yeah,
Miles Morales, even though it is Miles Morales, if you really wanted to play that, it is on PS4, so you could play it
it is.
on the PS4 if you really really wanted to play that game. You don't need a PS5 for that. So
All right, but I want to see it in its 4K
right,
gloriousness on the PS5 because I don't own a PS4 Pro. I own a PlayStation
right,
4 regular because I didn't see the hardware bump worth the extra money, the mid-gen upgrade for the PlayStation 4.
yeah, agreed. I didn't either, and that's why I didn't buy a PS5 Pro either or PS4 Pro. So
Nice. Yeah. So the game that everybody seems to be talking about right now is Valheim,
yeah,
and we've been playing a lot of that
yep,
ourselves. Uh, we even rented a private server to play, and so the world would stay active, so anybody could just hop in and hop out.
that's the way to do it.
You know, I don't, I don't know what happens with certain games like this because when I looked at Valheim, when you said, "Hey, check out this Valheim game that everybody's talking about," I'm like, it's okay looking, and for some reason, somehow it just sucked me in when we started playing. I'm like, when you said, it, I'm like, yeah, it's early access. Why? Why do I want to check out another early access game that's not done? And it's only been out since the 2nd of
Right.
February, and I think you were talking about it pretty soon after the release, or I guess opening up of early access. And we played it, and I don't know how much time. I mean, I took a week off work to burn some of my time off, and I ended up spending like almost every day that week playing Valheim. So
Right. Yeah,
I
that
mean,
game's great. I had saw it one night on Steam, because I was just looking on Steam for new games and just what was on sale and stuff, and you know, it was like I don't even think it was recommended. It was just one of the games that they had listed, and I was like, Valheim, like what is this? And I clicked on it, and I was like, huh, this looks pretty cool. And then I was thinking about picking it up, and I put it on my wish list. I put it on my wish list that night. I was like, it was only $20 game. I was like, oh, I might buy it when it goes on sale. And I was talking to a friend of mine and asking her, and she plays it, or she had gotten it, and she was like, yeah, it's a pretty cool game. And I was like, oh, okay. And I'm like, and that's when I told you about it, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and pick it up because this looks pretty. And this was before like I had read things like people it became so popular, right? So I was just like, oh, I'm just gonna pick it up and let's try it out. And then I asked you like, hey man, you should pick it up and try it out. I already said that, but then I said, hey, I purchased it, and you're like, all right, fine, I'll purchase it. And then we started playing, and we are like, this game's really good. And then that's when I realized
right.
that's the moment when we both realized it was really good, and we played like for hours that first night, and then we got off of it, and then
Mm-hmm.
I started looking online, and that's when I realized how popular this game was already. I was like, oh crap, this game is really popular. It's like,
Right.
there's people like what they had like 2 million users already, and now they're up to like 4 million, I think.
Right.
And
And game's been out since the 2nd
yeah,
of February. Not a
crazy,
full month yet.
crazy, and early
And early
access.
access.
But it's such a great early access game. I mean, I've never played an early access game that's
Right.
been so well put together off the bat. You know?
Right. I almost wonder. I mean, I guess they don't have enough content. They feel to get the price they want. Maybe I don't know because I mean we've been playing it for hours. I don't know how many hours I have played into it. I guess I could open Steam and look at it. But when I was off work that week and we played on your server, I was like, "Hey Nick, can you start up your server all week while you were working?" And you're like, "I'm working,
Right?
dude." I'm like, "Start up the server so I can hop in." So that's why I got a private server, and I'm just like, so anybody could just come and go as they want, and it's a pretty good little deal. I mean, I don't know how long it'll hold our interest, but they
I
just
mean,
keep
I
adding
still
more and
want to
more to
play it.
it. So, and they have a
I
roadmap.
haven't played it this week
Yeah.
yet because I just haven't had time.
Mm-hmm.
But I definitely plan on playing it this weekend. And yeah, Steam says I've played it 61 hours.
I need to open mine up because I don't know what it says I've
That's
played
quite a bit.
on that one. Uh, right, for a game that we didn't play it. We haven't played it all this week. I haven't played it all this week neither.
Yeah, I meant to
You
log
know,
in, and
it's
I was gonna log in last night, but well, we did a little bit of the podcasting last night, and that's what we were talking, and by the time we got off there, I had to get my kids ready for school and everything, so I just didn't have time to hop on and play it. But especially because, like I said, I
right.
joined the Reddit, and I don't. I try to somewhat stay away from Reddit with Valheim because I don't want to. I don't want a lot of things to be spoiled for me. You know. So I
Right.
just check out a few things here and there, but I have learned like some new things, and I've seen some different things, and so I'm like, okay, you know, I really want to play again because I want us to beat the guy in the swamps. So I mean, we need to get some more
The
iron so
bone
we can
mass
kill
or whatever,
him,
bone
and then we can
master.
move on. We know how to get in the mountains now without having the cold gear, and so maybe we can get up there, and then we can check out some more mountains. But I mean, really, right now we just need more iron. I think we need to beat the swamp guy so we unlock more stuff so that we can move
Yep.
on. Because I think we're at the cusp of that area, right? I mean, besides needing more iron, that
Right.
swamp area that we're at is almost we've almost done everything in it. We've almost explored the entire thing and done all the crypts in that area. So we're going to have to
Right.
move on regardless, and that's where the
Hmm.
boss is at. So I mean, if we when we play again, we can go and get as much iron that's left, make what we can, and I think at that point we should just try fighting the boss because otherwise we're going to have to sail to another island and find another set of swamps so that we can find more crypts. So
Yeah, that's the only thing that's the only complaint that I have so far is that resources don't respawn. The things like metals and stuff like that. I mean, like when you exhaust a copper supply in an
right,
area, it's gone. There's no more. Um, when you exhaust crypts right now, because the only place to get iron is in crypts, and then also meteorite strikes and swamps and stuff like that. Um, Unfortunately, I had the same problem you did. I was on Reddit and I've got some things spoiled from me because I saw that you could
right.
tame creatures and stuff like that, and I'm like, oh man, I didn't get to figure that out for myself. But I don't know if I would have figured out that you could tame a creature anyway because it's super involved to tame a creature. But yeah, and then I unfortunately have found out what the next boss drops and how it's useful, and I'm like, darn it, that sucks so bad that I know now it's not going to be a what's this thing do? Oh my god, why am I glowing type
I haven't
thing,
looked at the
So
next one. I haven't even looked
it's one
at.
of those things.
I haven't looked at anything boss wise. The
I
only
did.
thing that really got spoiled for me was the taming, and then
Hmm.
I think that was it. Really, I mean, some other stuff that people were building and doing. So I've kind of seen some of the future um, stuff that you can build, but I don't know what it does or how it works.
Hmm.
So just because I've seen it doesn't really mean much, or how to
Right.
even build it. So
Right.
that's why I've stayed away
Right.
from the Reddit. Like
It's good.
if there's something that will show up Valheim Reddit wise that I'm like, that I know is probably going to be a spoiler for me, I'm like,
Is
nah,
it worth
nah,
the
moving
click?
on, moving on. I don't want to see it because it's going to spoil it.
Yeah. Yeah, I got 72.4
Yeah,
hours in myself. So,
yeah.
not too much more than
Well,
you.
you were on it.
So,
Well, I mean, you had that week off, so you were definitely on it. I could get on there, but
uh-huh. Right. Yeah, I was in cuz we stayed up even though you were working, we stayed up pretty late most
yeah,
of those
for
nights
sure.
playing together. I would just get off and go to bed and you would get off and get a couple hours of sleep and then get up and
Yeah,
start
I mean,
working
it's a
again.
really good game though. Like now we're talking about it, I really want to get on and play it.
I Me too. I'm like sitting here jonesing about playing, and I'm like, oh man, it's a good game, and we just need to build up, and so we
Right.
can go on to the next area. Because I'm afraid I don't know. I mean, the swamp is still. I think we've explored like a third of the swamp. I mean, we've cut out the area around it because we've walked all around the map to open it up. Um, but the world in this game is massive. I mean, when you go to the world map and just like zoom out, and you're like, dude, we sailed for half an hour, and my map is only opened up like this much on a
Right.
map that's like this. You know, so it's insane how big it is, and one of the more I don't know if I'd call it disappointing, or maybe I just don't know the mechanic yet. But when you may move bases, you can create. If anybody doesn't want any spoilers, you probably might want to not listen to this. But you can build portals, and portals will allow you to take anything everywhere
Right.
except metals. You can take everything else. I think we've not run across anything else that you can't transport yet except metals. So let's say I amass a bunch of copper, which is pretty common once you get out there in the worlds and stuff. But what if I amass some iron or the dark metal that we've acquired or the obsidian that we can't do anything with yet? I want to take it to my new base. It's pretty heavy stuff. You can't carry a lot of it. So I was thinking when me and Nick were playing, I'm like, can I build a box on a boat? Take it with us that way? No. So there has to be a way to transport this stuff long distances somehow.
Yeah,
I just don't know
I
about it
don't
yet.
think right now there is. I mean maybe there is some way to transport it, but it doesn't seem. I mean, right now it doesn't seem like there's any way to transport it long distance without carrying it yourself, getting on a boat, and then going across the sea to you know wherever you're going.
Right.
Every yeah,
Right. Because yeah, it might be one of those. It might be one of those things where you have to go to where you want to go first
right.
and then come back because you don't want to risk losing all
Right.
your
I mean,
stuff
you
at the
got to
bottom
make
of
it
the
to the
ocean.
area you want to go to, so that way you can, find your. Yeah, you find your play
Set up
area that
base.
you want to be at, and then establish a base there because you got to get your base established and set up before you start expanding or doing anything like that because you will get attacked and you know
D- Don't pull a us and build your second
or
base in the plains because it
yeah
looks all
next to
nice
the
and peaceful.
plains where you're getting destroyed.
Well, our first base was on that little island right on the plains until the goblins came in and destroyed us
Right.
along with the death mosquitoes.
No, the plains is somewhere to. I mean,
So,
that's. It feels like the plains is. I don't. I don't know. Well, yeah, it feels like the plains are definitely more high level than the mountains, because the mountains we weren't doing too bad in.
oh yeah.
Um,
The problem is that you can't go to the mountains until you kill
right.
mosquitoes. So, and mosquitoes aren't
The
too bad. They're
mosquitoes
just
aren't bad.
they
Yeah,
seem to be come out of
they
nowhere.
do. They just come out of nowhere and they can attack you from behind, which sometimes you won't even notice it until they come in and
It's
hit you.
crit.
So the mosquitoes are. You just got to be aware of your surroundings when you're going through the plains to make sure that if a mosquito flies by or is coming, that you're aware and you got your shield up and ready to take them out. Um, the the mountain's not too bad. Those 2-star or 1-star dogs or wolves, I should say, those were hit
Those
pretty
big packs,
hard.
yeah.
Now we did die on that, or I died, and I think you died later on.
Oh,
I
I
don't.
died, yeah.
I think we could have taken them. We did end up killing them, but I think we could have taken them fine the first time. It was just some unlucky shield blocks or unlucky hits, where we just got hit too much.
Well, not to mention the mountain is kind of
Yeah,
mountainous. So it's not like you're walking everywhere. You're having to use stamina to run everywhere. So half the time when the wolves attack, you're down
right.
to like half or
And the
less
drakes were
stamina,
easy
so
to
you can't
take
walk
out.
too much.
The stone golem, he was tough, but he's kind of slow, and when he attacks, he's got that kind of tail on his attack, so you can kind of move out of the way. It's just those unlucky,
Right.
like you don't move out of the way in time. Kind of like the
And then,
trolls, really, in that sense.
right. And Nick missed the lichen. I killed the lichen without him. Well, he
Oh
killed
yeah, I did see it
the
though.
werewolf.
I thought it was a fish or something. I don't know.
Yeah. He's like, it was huge. And then I was like, Nick died. And I'm like, what is that? All right, I'm going to shoot it. So I shot it and it jumped at me. And it was like, oh, it telegraphs all of its moves. So I just dodged everything. But then the whole problem was 2 drakes came after me. So I killed
Right.
him real quick and ran away.
Yeah.
He didn't drop anything good. So,
Yeah, we just gotta. I think we just gotta get on and do more. Find the rest of, or finish out the rest of the swamps. Get the rest of the iron that's there, and then fight, and then upgrade as much as we can from that, and then fight the boss, and then move on. I think it's time for us to move areas.
right. You need to make
Unfortunately,
some,
we got a nice little area there. We got some big
right.
buildings and stuff like that, but I think we're kind of exhausting the area, and so we need to finish it up and
Mm-hmm.
move on to the next area that we need to go.
That'll be interesting because you got to find a biome that's kind of or a area that's on the cusp of like some really good biomes because you really need the wood, the lower level wood, unless you just plan on coming in right off the
Right.
bat and making stone structures, which that takes a lot of stone. I mean, I built the keep next to our base, and I'm like, man, this thing took me a full day worth of scrounging for stone to make. But you need that low level wood to get your initial base and the fences up because the enemies will attack your base. So you got to get the fence going, and then then you need the higher level stuff to make some of the more higher end workbenches and upgrades for the workbenches and stuff. So you got to
Right.
have that diversity in there
Yeah.
of biomes.
So, I wonder. I mean, I guess you know about the boss after this one. What area are they in? Are they in the plains?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they're the mountain. Okay.
The mountain. I don't know how much you want me to tell, but I do know what the next boss is. And I do know that we have 2 of the 3 components to summon the next boss.
All right. Well, I mean, we gotta get this first boss killed off. I figured
Right.
that.
We have all the components to summon that guy.
So he's in the mountains.
But his drop basically leads us to the mountain.
Right.
So I don't. So I don't know. I don't know. It's kind of weird though. Like I said, because to go into the mountains, you need you need the
Mm-hmm.
blood packs from the mosquitoes to get the cold resist potions. But there's supposed to be some armor that you were saying you saw a screenshot of, and I'm like, what does that come from? Because we're making iron weapons and armor now. So where do we get stuff to make warmer clothes to go in the mountains so we don't need the frost resistance potions?
Yeah, I don't know because I've seen, like I said, I've seen a lot of pictures of the mountain gear, which is a lot of fur, like capes and seems like fur chest and leg pieces. So I don't know
Mm-hmm.
what you kill for that because we've killed everything and not unlocked any different. Um, I mean, we've killed the wolves and we've killed the locks and everything that we would think that okay, this would give us like a cape or some sort of cape type,
Right.
new type of cape or some sort of fur outfit, and it doesn't. It doesn't unlock anything. So
Right. Maybe the item that we get from the next boss, which helps us find a new type of metal, will help us find some other recipe. You
true.
never know
It
on
might
that
it
one.
might
So
unlock a new recipe or
it's
a set
always
of
about more
recipes,
recipes and
right?
more recipes,
Right.
or a new workbench or something like that. So it's it's always just trying to progress the game, and I like the progression of it is more than just explore. I mean, I'm not a huge combat. The combat in this one's not as great as some of the other stuff, but it's because a lot of times it's frustrating more than anything because it's just kiting everything around. Like especially in the swamp, you spend most of your time in the swamp kiting oozes around because you don't want to get anywhere near you. So, um, but it's interesting that you have a little bit of combat to break up the exploration and the carving out wood and carving out stone and finding food to eat and killing animals. So you can go out and basically kill some creatures for some stuff. Or, I want to progress. To progress this game, you have to beat the bosses of each biome, or else you can't progress. Because when you beat the first, I can't remember when you beat the first boss, you get to create the what do you get to create? I forgot what you create already after you get killed
The
the first boss,
pickaxe.
the deer boss. Oh, the pickaxe. So we got the pickaxe from killing the first boss, and then when we killed the second boss, we got the
We have the
key
key to
to
the
the
swamps. Yeah.
crypts. That was it. Swamp. Yeah. Then so now that allowed us to open up
Right.
the crypts, which allowed us to get iron, and now we got to kill this
We
boss
get
for
a
a new
snow
tool.
shovel.
So
Yes. And
you make
shovel snow.
wishes with it.
Because you're going to the
Right.
mountains.
So that's a good game, and if you haven't tried it, all right. Yeah, we'll go into the mountains a little bit
Yeah,
more
it's a great
because it
game, and
leads us
especially
to
for a survival
things.
game.
So
It's definitely kind of reinvented the wheel, I think, of survival games. And for $20 only, it's definitely worth the price. So if you have Steam, I don't know if it's
yeah,
going to
for
come
sure.
out to other consoles. I assume at some point it might, but um, right now they don't have any plans to bring it out on other consoles. But I would assume because you can play it with a controller, so it does have controller support. I've seen. It doesn't. This
Hmm.
game feels like it plays better with keyboard and mouse, in my opinion. But you know, there might be somebody that wants to
Right.
play it with a console.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't know how you can play it with a controller because there's too much like right click and do this and like those small minute movements that you can only get with a mouse. You're like, I need to move this just a hair so it clicks into place. So
Yeah,
I don't know how that would work to be
yeah, me
honest
neither.
with a controller, but
It doesn't seem that way.
maybe
I've
not
seen
very
someone
well.
play it with a controller, and they played it pretty much exclusively with a controller, and it seems like it was making the game a lot more harder than it needed to be. That's what it felt like. So I'm like,
Right. Mm. Yeah, that's yeah. I don't know. Some games I just can't play with a controller,
yeah. I
and
mean, it just
this will
seems
be one
like.
of those.
I mean, they could probably make it work better with a controller. I'm sure. I just don't think right now that that's really in their
Mm.
wheelhouse as far as wanting to have good controller support necessarily at the moment. But if they wanted to make it work with with a controller, I'm sure they could. So
Right. Yeah, yeah. Yes.
right, I
I mean,
mean,
people
instead of
do it.
having
I
like a
mean,
hot
it's
bar, they
got
could
controller
put like a
support, so
wheel, right? They could do the wheel where all your items go on the wheel, and then you bring up the item menu on your wheel, and you can pick like all the stuff from your hot bar, and then, for your inventory, it'd be pressing start, which opens up your inventory screen. Then you can select your thing. So it could definitely work. The combat and the mining and stuff like that would be easy with a controller. They would just need to change some things around. To kind of go off of like a wheel system or something like that. But other than that, I think it could work with a controller.
right. It'd be I don't know. It'd be really hard to be doing because it happens a lot of time in the game. You're
Hmm.
in the world just doing something. Whether it's gathering, chopping down a tree, breaking up a stone, breaking up ore, building your base. When enemies just show up out of nowhere, and it's like, oh my god, I got to swap from my crafting hammer to my sword and shield before they kill me. So I can imagine running around in circles trying to equip your sword and shield without a mouse and a keyboard because I'm just hitting like my hotkeys like 1 and 3 to equip my
Well, like I
shield
said, if they did
and
that
sword or something.
rotary,
You know.
wheel, like where you just like hold the left trigger and it
Mm-hmm.
brings up a wheel on the screen, and you can use your stick to change. I think that would probably make it pretty easy. What they
Right.
should do too to kind of help that with controllers, and I think this should be in the game as well, is where you can combine sword and shield into one hotkey,
Mm-hmm.
right? I think even with playing with keyboard and mouse,
Right.
that needs to be a
Equip them at the
thing
same time.
because there's no reason for me. I mean, because what they should do is they should make it where the shield, because the shield can be paired with a lot of different things. So what they should do is just make it to where if you have like a
Yes.
torch or a sword or whatever other thing can be paired with it, you can just drag and drop the shield into it, and it just saves it as saying, okay, this is sword and shield, this is sword and shield, this is sword and shield. This is axe and shield, this is torch and shield, whatever. And then you can just say, okay, I'm going to press 2, that's my sword, and he brings out the sword and shield. Or I'm gonna press 3. That's my torch and shield. All right, bring it out. My axe and shield. Okay, and take all that out. Maybe you don't want to pair one with one, so you don't pair it. So when you hit 4 for like the axe or whatever, it just brings the axe out and doesn't bring a shield out. They can easily do some sort of like pairing system where you could pair those two items together and not have to worry about having to equip both.
Right. Yeah, because I mean, I don't know about you, but a lot of times when I'm running around the world cutting
Right.
down trees, I still have my shield
Yeah,
equipped
sometimes I
while I'm
do.
cutting down
Or
trees with
I
my
mean,
axe.
it's even had
Because you're
a
like, think like,
negative effect where you go to equip your sword and you hit the button for the shield and you somehow miss it or something messes up and you don't have the shield. And so you hit the button to deflect the coming attack, and with with the shield it's like ting, but with the sword it's like kaping or something like that. It makes a different sound, right? And so like you're not
yeah,
noticing, and so you're like dodging or blocking, and it makes that sound. You're like, wait a minute, I don't have a shield out. That wasn't the shield sound. Like what the heck? I hit the button.
right. You're trying to get
Yeah,
that
you try to
perfect
perfect.
parry.
I mean, just dodging in general, or
Yeah,
perfect
that perfect
parrying, or whatever. It
block.
doesn't matter. You can. There is two different
Mhm.
sounds for when it's deflecting with
Right.
a shield and with not with a shield.
Right. Right. Yeah. Because oftentimes what I'll do is I'll forget that I'm running around out in the woods with my axe chopping wood, and I got my shield in the other hand. And when the enemy comes, I'll go to equip my sword, so it's an automatic. Because I think they're like 4 and 5 or 5 and 6 on my shortcut. So I would hit those buttons together. I'd be like 5 and 6, and it would unequip my shield.
Right?
And I'm
Yeah,
standing
I've
there with
done
my
that
sword,
before
going, "Where's
too.
my
So
shield?"
it's both ways, so I mean, the game has definitely has some improvements to make, but otherwise, it's a really it's a really great game, and so yeah. If you have Steam, definitely check it out. It's the big talk of the game. At the current moment, everybody's playing it, everybody's talking about it. Um, so jump on that bandwagon because it's definitely worth it because this game is it is really fun as a lot of
Right.
people have said. Yeah, it's only
Yeah, I
twenty
think it's
dollars.
only like isn't it like
So
$20 or something?
no, you can't.
Yeah, can't beat that for I mean, the amount of content in that game,
It
it doesn't
doesn't.
really feel
It's
like an
I think
early
it's the
access
most
game right
complete
now.
early access game I've played coming out with it as far as early access games go. Um, we've played a lot of them in the past and stuff like that, and you know, the only game that I think is closest to being so not necessarily complete, but so feature rich and have a lot of stuff to do was Subnautica. When Subnautica came to early access, there was a lot to do in Subnautica. Granted, there was a lot of things that were unfinished, but the initial uh,
Right.
areas to go and things to do was pretty large starting out in that game. So you could do quite a bit and get pretty far before you kind of hit the end of Subnautica before they started putting more patches and various things like that out for it.
Right. Yeah, it's one of those. I usually steer clear of early access
Right.
games. Like I steer clear of them like the plague. Like I bought early access games and I've been burned, and I bought some really good ones. I mean, I bought Subnautica at like $21 when it was early access game. Loved it, but the problem with it is that I end up playing it long before it's finished, and then when the game fully releases, like when Subnautica did, I didn't go back to it. I went back to it because another friend of mine had told me about how great it was, and I'm like, dude, I've already played it. And he's like, no, no, you don't understand. And when I played it early, there wasn't a lot of what was in there. And I came back and played it, and I'm like, oh, there's a story in the game. There's this, there's that. And so I really enjoyed it. That's the bad thing about early access sometimes is that you get in early, you play it until you're done and get either burnt out or just done with it, and you miss out on all the end content that gets put out for it. Or you just get a really crappy early access
Right.
game, and you're just
The
like, I
good
got
thing
burnt
about
for $20.
the one of the good things about early access is I guess a couple of things is one, you do sometimes get really cool games like Valheim, right? Um, that are really good early access, and then also the good thing about it, especially on Steam, is they're usually really cheap or cheaper, so you can pick them up for because typically when they go to full release, the price of the game goes up, so you can pick it up at a cheaper price, and that helps if you're really interested in the game, but you don't want to play it till it
Right.
releases or something.
Yep. Yeah, you could do that too. Because I mean, and that's kind of. I really want to play the new
Below zero,
Subnautica,
yeah,
the 0 degrees or whatever. Yeah, the below zero. But I love what they did in the end, and so I've been hesitant to buy it or even do anything. But I have been trying to keep an eye on it to buy it when it goes on sale so that I can have it. Because
yeah,
I own
yeah. That was
Satisfactory,
a really good.
and that's another really good early access game. It's made by the same. Well, I don't know. Did Satisfactory made by Coffee Stain or
Published.
just
They
published by
publish a lot
Coffee
of
Stain?
games
I
that
always
we tend
forget.
to like, but that's when they published. I don't think it's made by them though.
Right,
I'm not sure though. I don't know. It might be, but
right. And
right,
Valheim is published by them as well. Valheim is published by Coffee Stain, and they seem to have a niche for these like one-off games. Because Satisfactory, you wouldn't think a game like Satisfactory could have you entertained for hours, but we built persistent worlds in that game and played in each other's little areas and go find materials and build these giant factories that automate everything. And it's like, how can you find time to do something like that? That's how can you spend time and not realize? I mean, I spent hours in Satisfactory, wasted so many hours. I don't think the
it
Epic Game Store tells
doesn't.
you how much time
Unfortunately,
you
I
put
put
into
a
these
lot of
games
hours into
like
that
Steam
too,
does.
and I do want to go
Yeah,
back to
I wish it would.
Satisfactory. I'm just waiting for Satisfactory. Really, what I've been waiting for with Satisfactory is just waiting for them to um, release some new content. I mean, they have been, but I'm just waiting for a while for
Mm-hmm.
the, letting the kind of months go by until they really got like quite a bit of updates, and then I'll come back to it. Because besides exploring, I mean, I didn't build everything. I mean, I built everything, but besides really exploring the island that you're on, I was kind of in Satisfactory. I was kind of running out of things to do in that game because I've kind of got to the point where I'm like, well, I've kind of seen and I've kind of built everything. Like, there's some other stuff I could build, but I kind of understand, or not kind of, but I understand like what these things are and how their usefulness or what their purpose is. So I don't really have any reason to continue building unless I just want to keep building for the sake of building stuff. So I was just kind of waiting.
So actually, I found Satisfactory does have a time played, and I'm kind of ashamed at this. I have 11 days
Wow.
and 13 hours in
Let's see.
Satisfactory worth of play time. I was like, oh,
Huh.
I don't know if I.
Let me see if I can.
Yeah, if you hover over the ellipses in there, it tells you how long you've played. I'm like, oh, I played quite a bit more than I thought I did. So, yeah, um, it's I don't know how games like that end up holding my attention the way they do because I think about it like I think like Minecraft. I could never get into Minecraft, and every time I see a game like that, I'm like, oh, it's updated graphics Minecraft. But then I end up playing it, and I'm like lost
Right.
in it for days
Yeah,
or weeks or something
Satisfactory,
like that.
9 hours and 19
So
minutes.
yeah, I got
11
11 days in it.
days. My goodness. Or no,
Yeah.
I have
All
one.
right.
I have
I
one
played a lot of it.
day.
You got look. Don't look at the update 3. Look at
I
the
was looking at the experimental one.
look at
I
the
have
update
1 day
2
and
one or the
22
one before
hours.
that one.
Because I played the
Yeah.
experimental one too, so I got 9 hours in the experimental
And but
one.
then you put 9 hours in the experimental. Right.
Yeah, it's
So
about
you
2
got
days
basically
worth.
2 days in the game.
I mean, it's a good game. Like I said, I want to go back to it. It's just one that I've kind of waiting for them. I
Right.
think because they show update 3 is what they have now, and they've had that for a while. So it is a different screenshot. So
Right.
it's probably just because I think they'll do like update 1 or update 2 or update 3, and then they'll have a bunch of updates and hot fixes, and then they do a major update, and that's when they do like update 4 or update 5. So they kind of sprinkle things in, and then they do a big update, which is
Right.
then the numbered, updates on the game. So, yeah.
Right. Right. And that's the problem is like when I go back to Satisfactory, I'm gonna
Oh
forget
yeah,
how to play it. Essentially because I haven't played it in a while. So I'm gonna have to restart. And I'm like, do I really want to put that much time in there to build my giant factory all over again? Because my factory spread. There was like this giant rock in the middle of where I started at, like this giant pillar rock, and I built entirely around this rock and then up onto the next hill, this mountain, and I used that rock to build my transmission tower for electricity. So all my wires would run up to there because it could go really far because of the drop, and I had
yeah,
power running way out everywhere from that thing. It's where you build the
right.
radio
I
tower
had
too
this
for
like
radio
I think it
communications,
was coal,
and
or was it coal, or one of the resources. I can't remember what it was. It was like way, way out from my base. It was like way out there. And so I had this giant,
yes, yes,
line going uphill, downhill, down a cliff, whatever, just to get to this one spot where I could mine it. And it was just like, it was crazy. That thing was long. I mean, it went way down there. The conveyor belt just so far away. Put power all the way down
mm-hmm.
there. Built the big
I
conveyor
built.
belt. Everything just to get down to
Mm-hmm.
that area. I mean, it was downhill too, so I had to build like the elevators that you build, to move it up to the top of the
Oh yeah,
cliff,
then move
so it
things
would
up.
dump down onto another conveyor belt and come in.
Yep. I built that. I built something like that for my oil
Maybe
refinery
it was
because
oil. It
oil
might have
was
been
like
oil.
all the way on the other side of the map from my base. So I built like yeah, I built these pump stations that pumped oil out of the ground and refined it all in the same area. But I didn't do anything but
Yeah,
generate oil there and refine it and send it back because there's no room to even build power. So I built power. I ran power and conveyor belts all the way across the map, and just so I could bring it back. And so that's all I did was I ran power out there, and then I ran a giant conveyor belt, and then I even upgraded to that super fast
right.
conveyor belt that would like launch
Yep,
you
that's what
halfway
I had
across the
to. I had
map
them
like really
all
quick.
upgraded.
And it was just like lines. Yeah, it's hilarious when you watch it too, and you fire up the factory for the first time, and you just see these barrels start just coming out of the factory and just shooting down these conveyor belts heading towards your base. And I even built bridges so I could drive under the conveyor belt because I need to go around
Yeah,
areas. And
I
I'm
did the
like, you know
same
what? Let's
thing.
raise this
But
up a
like
little bit so I
things
can
like
go under it.
I had a conveyor belt. I had a conveyor belt going below, and
So,
then I built a conveyor belt going over it. Like so that way they wouldn't run into each other. Because I think you could cross
yeah.
conveyors, but it was just really confusing to see like I couldn't remember if you could or not. I want to see you could.
I
Oh,
think
that
in one
might
of
be
the
the
patches they
case.
fixed that to where
But at first you could, but it was really
they couldn't
confusing to figure out where things
intersect
were
anymore.
going.
They
So I
would.
built little bridges over them so I could be like, okay, I know this isn't because when they intertwined, it was like
No,
really it got confusing on things.
confusing. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, because I built my base
Yeah.
is 3 levels or 4 levels deep. My main base has like has like refinery on top of refinery on top of refinery, and they just feed in from one. So I have like this one that builds electric motors, and then it's being fed from like 3 other refineries over here, and it's just like refinery on top of refinery on top of refinery going into like these storage bins and stuff. It's an interesting game, an interesting concept. I don't think I played any of Update 3 at all, which is the current one. I think if I look
I
at it,
did a
I
little
don't think I
bit,
played Update 3.
but I mean, like I said, every time they do a pretty good
That's
update
the one with.
for a for like a pretty good patch or whatever, they
Mm,
change the picture. Um, and I noticed that they have a new picture that I
hmm.
haven't seen before. So I'm like, oh well, um, you know, I'll have to play it sometime.
Yeah. Satisfactory has that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, they have
You
nuclear
know,
powered facilities in there
um,
now in Satisfactory.
let's see.
So,
I will have to keep everyone entertained because I have to use the restroom. But I'll be right back.
yep. So if you haven't played Satisfactory, it's interesting. I don't know how to explain how this game can hold anybody's attention for any length of time because basically you're just building a giant factory and you're building it to automate things. Like you, when the game starts out early, it's you just need to mine ore, and then when you mine ore, you need to refine it. So you have a miner sending it off in a conveyor belt to a refinery, and then the refinery turns it into ingots, and then you get the ingots and you put those in a storage system, and then after you build a storage system, you can have it output into these different refineries that can turn it into things like wire or combine like different metals into other products. Like you can say I need to make rubber and this to make a radio, or I need this and this to make a motor, and it just you can automate the factory to make these things. So it's insane how much time I spent in this game just thinking about it because there is nothing. I mean, there is a little bit of danger involved in it when there's some of the creatures in the wild, but there's no there's nothing really to do except build. I mean, you you build everything from a rail yard because I built a rail yard to deliver coal to my power plant from a coal deposit that was a few miles away. So you build a rail system, and the rail system just circulates from on a powered rail, so that the rail itself gets power from your power plant, and then it runs the train on there. And you fill it with coal and bring it back. So it's like I don't know. It's kind of like Minecraft upgraded for the non people don't like 8-bit games. That squared 8-bit thing. Uh, so Satisfactory, it's in that same line of Valheim. I think I'll probably put as much time into Valheim as I did that, and they're both still early access. But Valheim's brand new early access, whereas Satisfactory's been in early access for quite some time now. I'm not sure when or if they ever will get out of early access because that's my experience with early access games is the majority of them just never leave early access. I don't know. It's an easy way for them to make money, I guess, because they get to sell their game, but sell it as a non-complete game and keep developing it while you pay them to develop it. Albeit you do get at a discount normally because we talked about Subnautica, and Subnautica was a $21 game when it came out, and I think it went for more than double that. I can't remember if it was 50 when it finally went full release, but so those people who got early access in the game or bought it in early access paid like less than half for it. So that's the benefit of early access, I guess, is you get to beta test it, or you just buy it and sit on it hoping it
True.
comes out for half price.
Well, I was saying before I left, one game that
So
I think I'm just going to have to break down and
yep.
buy is Factorio because it never goes on sale.
I
I've
think
heard a
a
lot of
buddy of
people
ours
like
plays
it.
that game a
It's been on
lot.
my wish list on
Factorio. I
Steam for
mean,
like
I was telling
ever, I think. And that game never goes below $30. It's always $30.
right. And Factorio is kind of a. I mean, it's supposed to be 3D, but it doesn't. I mean, to me, it's like less graphically version of
Right. Well,
Satisfactory.
it
But
came
I
out
know
before
people have put tons of
Satisfactory,
time in Factorio. Um,
so I think people are.
yeah, it did.
Yeah, it's full
But
release. It's not.
it's full
It's not.
release
But
though, right?
a lot of people
Yeah,
like it.
it's full release. It's like if Satisfactory was
I'm
made
down
to
with
look
that.
like SimCity, the original SimCity, is what Factorio reminds me. Of. Yeah, I like SimCity. That's what Factorio reminds me of. You know, so I don't know if I don't know. I find those games. I don't know why I find those games entertaining because they don't seem like they'd be something I'd play a lot of. Because
Right.
I don't want to
Well, the
play a
nice thing
lot of
about well, I love Minecraft
Minecraft.
too. I mean, I I haven't played Minecraft in a long time though, but sometimes I do get a hankering for playing it. And Minecraft is really fun to play with friends. You know, it's again, it's just it's like Legos for adults, really. I mean, or for
Mm.
kids. You know, like you just get to mine and build, and you get you unlock new things and stuff like that. And it's, I mean, some people might not like it for the graphics, because it's all blocky, but it's a lot of fun. Like especially when you're playing with someone or a group of friends, it's a ton of fun to just build like big houses, and you can build all sorts of crap in Minecraft. And it's like, I mean, I remember me and a buddy, we played it for hours, and we built this big, huge, these big, two big houses, and we had a bridge going across between both houses, and we had this big mining pit where we were mining down and getting stuff. We had this giant mining pit in between the bridge and in between the houses. So you could, and we built stairs to go down into it and torches and stuff, so it was all lit up. And you go down in there, and you could mine out the that area of it. And we had this big, huge buildings, and yeah, it was just a lot of fun. It was a ton of fun to play, and Minecraft is still a ton of fun to play. It's just it can get kind of. I mean, there's sometimes where I'll install Minecraft and just play it by myself. I'll just get on there and start building stuff or playing around with it because it is a fun game. Um, I mean, it's got to be a fun game, right? It's still like super popular, you know.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's super popular with people. I don't get the appeal of it, but when I was when that game came out, I didn't play
Right.
online games with a lot of friends. I was mostly still into the single player stuff on the PC and stuff.
Yeah, I
So
I didn't have that
um,
game either.
maybe it's
My
different. I don't
buddy,
know.
he actually
Maybe it's something we should try to play.
he beta tested Minecraft. He bought it when early access wasn't early access, but I think Mojang or the
Hmm.
guy that created Minecraft, he had it out there where you could like get into it early by paying like $10 or something like that. And so he started playing it then and really got into it. And then he wanted me to play with him so bad he bought me a copy of the game just so we could play together. And we spent a week, and I remember I brought my PC over, my desktop computer. I brought it over to his place, and we hooked it all up, and we partied that game all weekend long. We just played nothing but that, just the whole weekend, building houses and just
Hmm.
mining and everything. And yeah, it was a blast. I had a ton of fun playing it. So, and like I said, it's one that I will play occasionally. I'll just like I'll
Hmm.
have I'll be like, hey, I want to play Minecraft, so I'll jump on it and start building stuff and just mining things. And so
Yeah. It's hard for me to get in a game that's not graphically aesthetically pleasing to me because
oh, I love
I've
Stardew
heard tons of
Valley.
people rave about Stardew Valley, Minecraft, but I just get in there and I'm like, no,
Right.
this is from when I was 10, or 15 or something like that, So I can't get into that. Or what's the other real big one that's kind of that people play a lot of? That's that 8-bit kind of graphic
There's
style
Terraria.
where you're mining and exploring and stuff
Terraria
like
is
that. I
really
always
good
forget the
too.
name of it.
And
Terraria, yeah, Terraria is the one. I know a lot of people
they have one that's like
played that for
Terraria. I
like
think it's made
five
by the same
minutes.
people. It's the one where you're in space. I have it on Steam. What is it called? Oh, it's called. It's pretty much Terraria in space. I think it's made by the
Terraria,
same
but in
people that made
space, huh?
Terraria. Starbound. Yeah, Starbound's really good too.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, I've heard of that
Starbound's
one.
really good too. Like you're up in
I've
a
not played it.
spaceship, and then you
Hmm.
portal down onto the planet, and then you can you, once you get down on the planet, you can then mine it and find resources and stuff like that. And then um, what's cool is like you can jump to new planets in the game, and every planet's procedurally generated that you jump to. But in order to jump to a new planet, your spaceship needs fuel. So once you jump to a new planet, your spaceship has no fuel, so you have to go down the planet you find, which could have anything from acid rain to whatever, right? And so then you got to find more. You can get all the resources and find various things in the on the planet, but your main goal is, if you want to get off the planet and go somewhere else, is to find more fuel so you can put it back in your ship and then bolt off to the next planet, um, to then collect from that planet that you come up to. So it has various
So does it
objectives and
have an
stuff. Like
objective besides
it's
collecting
very
fuel?
similar to
Okay.
Terraria, because Terraria even has bosses and stuff. Like they have bosses that you can fight. Terraria is all about getting. Terraria
Yeah.
is all about going deeper into the
Right. You
Earth or
unlock them.
into the planet that you're on. Whereas Starbound's more about. I can't remember the overarching like story from it, but you're trying to do something, trying to get like back home or find something or something like that.
Because
Hmm.
while you're explaining Starbound to me,
Yeah, I
I'm
mean
just
Starbound
hearing
came out
No
before
Man's
that, but
Sky.
yeah, it's kind of somewhat similar. Yeah.
Right. But that's what I'm hearing, and that's what I played. I played No Man's Sky, and I played it with the current update that they have out because that was actually a fun game, and you learn more about different planets as you go running around the system, and you can build portals and portal to space stations and other planets and stuff. So that reminds me of that. But No Man's Sky is more graphically appeasing to me than Starbound. So I have a problem
Yeah,
with games
I
that
mean,
don't
for
look
me, how
good
I
enough,
am.
I
I don't
guess.
really care how it looks as long as it's good, and I'm gonna play it. Of course, I was playing
Well, yeah, you'll
the
load
other
up an
night.
old
I mean, because I
Nintendo
have the
cartridge and keep playing.
NES, the little NES classic console thing that Nintendo brought out. Those little mini consoles. The other night, I was
Hmm.
playing Zelda 2 on it. Played it for about an
Yep.
hour or so. So yeah, I'll load one of those up. Sometimes I guess it's in my bedroom,
Hmm.
not in my game room where I have most of my stuff. But I'll go in there sometimes and be like, I'll just sit down on my bed and be like, hey, I'm gonna pop this NES Classic on and play something. No, no, no. I was getting into
Put
it. I
myself
was
to
like,
sleep.
I had to get off because I'm like, I'm gonna sit here and play this all night.
All right. Yeah, no, I can't bring myself to go back to some of that old school stuff. I
Yeah, I
like
mean, I
new
like new
modern
graphics too, but
graphics.
again, it's one of those
I'm
things where,
spoiled.
for me, it's like I don't care. Um, I don't really care graphically what it looks like as long as it's fun. You know, if it's a fun game and has good gameplay and fun mechanics, then I don't really care what it looks like. Now, I mean, do I want it to look nice and look cool? Yeah, for sure.
Right.
Who doesn't, right? But if it looks old school and it plays well and it's fun, then I'm down with it. That one I mentioned, it was a long time ago. It was on Xbox Game Pass. It was on the PC Game Pass. It was World of Horror, and I said, hey man, you should check this out. Which it was a really cool game, but probably definitely. I mean, it
Hmm.
was black and white, and was the gameplay was
Hmm.
basically like still shots of the different areas you would go to. And like maybe like if something came in, it would come in like GIF
So
style,
like an old school
like
mud.
fade in or fade out or whatever. Kind of like old like a PowerPoint or something, like a PowerPoint presentation or something like that. Yeah,
like
yeah.
like old
So, but it was
muds,
a really cool game.
like
Like it
those
had
old
really
mud
cool like
games. Yeah.
it didn't have. I don't think it had any dialogue, but it had really good text. Story elements and stuff like that in text mode that were really
Hmm.
interesting and stuff like that. And it was a really cool
Right.
mechanic on how you played because it was kind of like a horror mystery that you would solve with supernatural stuff and everything. and some scary looking imagery and everything like that as you play it. So it was a really neat game. I was like, oh, this is neat. It doesn't look visually appealing, but you know, I mean, there's another good, yeah. I mean, they got like games like
Right.
Papers, Please.
Well,
That's a
that happens
fantastic
sometimes.
game. That game doesn't look visually appealing at all.
Right. Yeah, it's just. I mean, they find some weird stuff, but we mentioned this before. It's like it's Game Pass is why I play some of this stuff. Like I played Yes Your Grace. That game was awesome, and I played it because of Game Pass, and it's 8-bit looking game. You're a king, and you're trying to lead your kingdom through turbulent times, and stuff happens, and you have to make
No,
decisions and
I didn't get
choices.
to play
And
that one.
the gameplay was
Is it
really good.
still
I don't
out
know if you
there?
got to play that one yet or not, but it's really good.
Hmm.
I don't know if it's still on Game Pass. Maybe it is because it was. It may. I don't know if it's still on Game Pass or not, but that's where I played it at. But it was a really good game. But it's 8-bit style game, and it's just I don't know what sucked me in about it. It was just like I wanted to keep seeing what would happen next. You make the decision to do this or do that, and you're a king and you have three
Right.
daughters and no sons, and you're trying to keep your kingdom going. So, do you marry off your daughter? Do you keep her? That type of stuff. So, interesting game. But yeah, I mean, I will play some of that, and I think I was trying to remember the game that I had played that I mentioned a couple of times before. It's kind of steampunkish, where you're an AI
Yeah, I
and you
remember you talking
create
about that.
modifications to put in people's bodies, and the story takes yeah, and it's kind of weird little, but it's 8-bit as
You gotta
well.
expand your
So
horizons, man.
that old
Just
retro
because
style
it doesn't,
graphics and
just
stuff.
because they don't look graphically good, doesn't mean they're bad. I mean, there's some really great games that are out there that are not graphically, intensive. I mean, Valheim. You put that in example, and like sometimes that game looks really good, and sometimes you're like, so it's like it straddles that line
Right.
of like looking really good and not looking
Right.
so great.
Well, the first image I seen of that when you told me was the
I
character
will say one
selection
thing about
screen, and
that
I'm
game.
like, what kind of
The
garbage is
screenshots
this?
don't do it
Was this made in
justice.
2008?
Like seeing it, seeing the game run, the game looks
No.
way better than it does in screenshots, for sure.
Well, don't
Oh
judge it
yeah,
also
the
by the
character
character
selection's great.
selection screen because that looks like garbage. Like when you're creating a character, yeah, it looks like somebody. It's like you took a Minecraft character
Right.
and then you gave
Well,
him a
when the
little bit of
fact that the
shape.
men and
You
women
gave him a
almost
little bit
look
of
exactly the
curvature for his
same,
arms and his face,
except
and
for
you're
one
just like,
doesn't have a beard and the other one does, you're just like,
right?
yeah. When I got to the character, I remember when I first loaded that game, I got the character
You
selection
could
screen.
be
I was like, where you make your character, I'm like, what in the heck? Like these all look horrible. But it's like once you got in the game and started playing, you're like, oh, this is really good. I
right,
like this. Like the character selection screen
right.
could really use some work, but other than that, it looks great.
Yeah, it reminds me of the Dungeons and Dragons movie with the dwarf talking about he likes his women with little whiskers on, something to grab onto. And I'm just
Yeah,
thinking,
because I was thinking
see,
about
are
playing
these
as a
guys all
girl in there. I
dwarfs?
was
They
like, I'm
all
gonna
just look the same,
choose a
right?
chick, and I was just
So
like, I clicked the chick, the female button, and I was like, maybe not. Maybe I will be a dude. No. Well, I mean,
this isn't
I usually
cyberpunk,
play
Nick, where
as a
you just
girl
give
in
your
there
chick,
because
a
my
beard and
son's
everything,
like, "Why do you always play as a girl?" And I'm like, I'd rather look at a girl in a game than look at some dude. It's like that's just how I feel about it. Like, especially if I'm in third person, I'm gonna follow this person around. I'd rather look at a chick than look at some dude. Yeah, I'd rather look at the backside of a chick than look at the
look
backside
at
of
the
a dude. It's
backside of a
like that's
chick all
just
day
it,
rather than the backside of a
I'm like,
dude.
but but it depends on the game, right? That too. When it comes to if I'm going to choose
Hmm.
female or male, it depends on the game. I mean, for Valheim, I choose that too, right? I don't
And
like
if they
that. I
lock
hate when games
classes
do
behind
that. But
characters,
for Valheim, it was just like for that game in general, it was the chicks really need some work in that game, so that's why I chose a dude. And but other games, I might pick a chick depending on the game. Um, yeah.
right? Yeah, it just depends on the game. Yeah, but yeah, I noticed. I noticed locking locking classes behind genders seems to be mostly like Korean MMO style things. When Korean MMOs come out, it's like we've got this white mage, and then we've got this blue mage, and one's different types of
Right.
mages or whatever. They call them something else, like a Thurologist and a pet class. One of them's a female class and one's a male class, but they're the same thing. They just call different
Right.
names, where their skill set
Yeah.
varies
Yeah. I
differently
hate when
just
they
by a
do the
hair.
gender locking.
You
It's
know,
like,
so
why does the sorcerer have to be female and this other one? I mean, like, who cares? Like, just make them unlocked for both. There's no point in there's no there's no point in it, unless you have some sort of like
right,
story decision on why all females are sorcerers. You know, then I guess you could go with that. But most of the time they don't have that. They just lock them behind it because they're like, oh no, you're this type, so you should be a female, and for this you should be a male. It's like, who cares? Like, just let the people that play choose
right,
what they want to be, gender wise.
right. Yeah, because I mean, games have slowly started getting away from even locking classes to race type things. I mean, for the most part, any new RPG that comes out, they still do to some extent. They say like, the Nord can be these classes, and then the
Right.
High Elf can be this or whatever. They don't even do that as much anymore. I've noticed. Um, you know, it's interesting to see how that
True.
stuff clubs out, but we don't get as many RPGs as we used to neither. So
Hard to say.
I mean, I don't know if that's just a
Yeah.
factor of that. So
But I don't know.
right, cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Huh. Yep, Valheim, good game. Check it out. I,
Yeah.
I enjoyed it, and I mean, we still have a. Well, I mean, I'm sure we'll probably play some this
Yeah, I'm
weekend
sure we will.
outside of the game, next
But
game we're playing. So, cool.
all right.
Right. Yep. Not a whole lot in gaming news this week. Very
Yeah.
underwhelming PlayStation state of gaming. Not a whole lot there. Not a whole
It's
lot
been
really at
it's
all
been
in the
a lot.
gaming
It's
sphere.
been very
Besides,
slow.
it's kind of slow due to.
I mean,
I'm
we've
assuming due to
gotten
COVID.
some things here and there, but yeah, it's been pretty slow lately. Um, so I mean that.
It seems like everybody's working on remasters and remakes. And I'm kind of tired of that. Even my favorite game, everybody's so super hyped about the remaster
Mm,
of, of Mass Effect, and I'm like, I love Mass Effect,
right.
but I played it already. Move on. I don't know how to get excited over that. A lot of people are super excited over that, and I can't get excited over something I played and
Yeah,
beat.
I'd rather
I
have
want
something
something
new
new,
than a
something fresh.
remake. I mean, I like remakes. It's kind of nostalgia street when you play them, but developers gonna come out and do something with the game. They're gonna do, like, for example, Nintendo's gonna come out with Skyward Sword for the Switch, right? So that's cool and all. I never got to play Skyward Sword. I have it now, but I never got to play it back in the day, and I haven't played it, you know, since I own it now. Um, that was one that you needed. I think it was on the Wii, right? Yeah, it was on the Wii. But you need the Wii Plus, which is that little connector that goes in the bottom that added like more whatever to the Wii, motion controlling,
Okay.
processor speed. I don't know, whatever, an extra engine. I'm not sure what it did. But I have one of those too, so I could play Skyward Sword. But guess what? I haven't played it, and I've probably owned Skyward Sword now for almost a year. So, um, so now they're coming out with it on the Switch. I will get to experience it, but from what I've understood, is Skyward Sword's probably, you know, a lot of people's least favorite Zelda game. So, and I don't know if that has to do with the motion controls aspect of it or what, but it seems to be a lot of people's least favorite Zelda. So, it yeah, it's the one that they were all about the
Oh,
motion
is that the one
controls
where you
with
had to
that.
like
You had to
raise
raise
the
the sword
to get
up
the
and
shield
you
to go up?
swing
And
with it, and it was all motion control
yeah,
based.
okay.
You
Yeah, I
couldn't
didn't
use
play
a
that
regular
one either.
controller. It had to be the motion controls, and it had to be the motion control plus that you would connect into the bottom of it. I think they made it specifically for that game. Um, and or
That was
something. I
Nintendo
don't know
trying to get
what.
these fat guys like us to play video games to
Yeah,
exercise.
so it
They just say you need
I really want to
exercise.
play it because I like Zelda, but um, I just haven't ever got around to playing the one I have, and now that for the Wii, and now that they're coming out with the Switch version, I'll probably just wait for it to come out on the Switch and buy it then and play it. Hopefully they just add controller support and get rid of all that motion crap, and then
Right? Yeah.
I hope not. I hope that's one of
No,
the
you're
things
gonna
that
have to
people
take the
were
Joy
like kind
Cons
of
off and put in the
wondering
Joy
about.
Cons.
Like, what are they going to do with that? Are they going to get rid of them completely, or just have it where you could do both? You could use a Joy-Con, or you could just use a regular controller. Because a lot of people just want to be able to play with a regular controller and not have to swing around the Joy-Cons everywhere. So I'm hoping that's the route they go, because I don't want to play that game swinging around a Joy-Con.
Yeah, you're not. Right.
Yeah, you gotta use
You're not going to
Joy-Con.
be allowed to. They're going to be like, you can't even use a Pro controller. You have to use the
Green
Joy
one and the
Cons.
purple one.
You got to make use of that. You got to use
Yeah,
the
so
ones that have the
Zelda just
most
swings
drift
left
because we're not
all
using
the
those
time.
thumbsticks. You just need to. So grab your broken Joy Cons that have drift, and then he smacks himself in the face.
I think
with
all
shield
my
all the time 'cause
I
he's
think
going
all
up
my
too high.
Switch controllers have drift on them. Some worse than others, but I mean I have some that are really
I
bad.
think mine does too.
And then I have some that are kind of whatever, but and then I've
Right.
heard that the PlayStation 5 controllers are already getting drift. Yeah.
Yeah, they have a class action lawsuit because of it already, and I'm like, wow, that was quick.
Right, even
It's
Xbox
bad, and I mean,
controllers
I don't know
have
how
it
you
too.
combat it. It seems like it's a
I
problem
don't
for
see it
everybody, and not
as
just
prevalent in
Nintendo
Xbox
and
controllers.
PlayStation.
I don't think I've had a single Xbox
Yeah.
controller that's had drift on it, but I could see that happening for sure. So, granted,
I have a
yeah,
tendency though to buy more Xbox
I
controllers than I
probably
do
have
anything
like
else. Though.
almost.
I mean, I have like four
between me
or
and
five
Mason,
Xbox controllers, and I have two PlayStation
my
controllers.
son, we probably have a total of almost 10 Xbox controllers. So, and I have
Right. I have like a rugged
3
military looking
PlayStation
one.
4 controllers. One of them doesn't can't. One is the original one. It can't keep a charge.
Yeah, I only have two.
The other one is my white PlayStation
Yep.
controller, and the sticks don't work on it, or they do, but they have bad drift. And my last one is my purple PlayStation controller, which is the one that works and has no problems.
Right. I have two as well. Yeah, I have two PlayStation controllers. One of them is the one that came with it that no longer charges. And you can plug a cable into it, and it still doesn't play because it can't hold that much juice. And then the one I bought,
See,
the
my
most recent one's
the one that won't charge either is also my original one,
because of that.
and
So
it won't. You can charge it. You can play with it plugged in, and it works fine. You can charge it, but it'll hold a charge for like 5 seconds. So, not long enough for you to do anything with it.
yeah, mine won't even.
Oh wow!
Mine won't even. You can plug the cable into it, and it won't even bring it back alive. So I don't know if the connector's broke inside the controller or if it's the battery.
Right.
But I haven't.
Well, that
haven't
comes
took it
into the
apart.
effect.
I just
People
was
were
at the
talking
point
about
where I'm like, I'm
online,
gonna buy me
like
a new one.
even
Screw
with
it.
the Xbox Series
So.
X, and people talked about the controllers, and they're like, "Why are they still using batteries?" And it's like, so this is my deal, and this is me personally. I'd rather use batteries than a rechargeable battery that's integrated within the controller. And the reason why is for the very reason I have with the PlayStation controllers. Do I like it? Yes, I do. I like it not having to buy batteries, right, for the PlayStation controllers. The thing I hate, and people say this a lot. They're like, "Well, when you're done with playing the PlayStation, just plug the controller in and charge it." Here's my problem. One is I forget to plug it in every time. So when I go to play, like recently,
Right.
excuse me, I got Persona 5 Strikers. I was like, cool. Put it in my PlayStation, got it loaded in. I was like, awesome. I sat down, turned on my PlayStation 5, my purple controller. And it was like, and I was like, this thing's completely dead. So I had to plug it in and wait like an hour for it to charge before I could start playing Persona 5 Strikers. Now, could I play it plugged in? Yes, I could. I mean, it was so dead that I couldn't even turn it on. Like,
Right.
I could turn it on, but it was just like, it was just kind of like, I'll try, and it got enough through it, but I was just like, I don't have a good, for me personally, I don't have a good plug-in close to where I sit because my PlayStation's in the living room, so I don't have a good plug-in close enough. So I was just like, well, I got to basically got to just charge it
Mm-hmm.
and wait for it to charge before I can start playing. So that's what I ended up doing. I waited like an hour or so, and then I sat down and started playing it. But it's like if I had an Xbox controller or even a PlayStation controller that uses batteries, well, I have batteries. I have kids first off, so having AA batteries, not even for my controllers, the fact that is I have kids and they have toys that use batteries, so more than likely I'm going to have AA's in the house. And every time I go to the store, I buy a giant pack of AA's because I know I'm going to go through them. Plus, if you have the option for a battery
Right.
pack on the controller like the Xbox, you can go buy rechargeables, or you can buy the rechargeable kit that Xbox has, or even you can buy the knockoff one. Power A makes one, and I have one of those, and
Right.
it works great. It charges, it lasts a long time, and it's a knockoff brand, but it works
Right.
perfect, and
Yeah.
they're cheap. So it's like with the Xbox controller, I feel like I have choice. I can use batteries, I can use rechargeable
Right.
batteries, or I can use a recharging kit. With the PlayStation, I have one choice. That is, I have to use the internal battery in there, and unfortunately,
Right.
now granted, it did last a long time, but unfortunately, like your black controller and my black controller that came with the controller is practically useless at this point.
Right. Well, and I think and I think kind of nailed it too because I would forget to plug in my PlayStation controller all the time, and I don't have the patience that when I'm ready to play, it's not charged. So you know what I would do? I would plug it in to the wall and play with it charged in.
Oh, I'm
So I
sure.
guarantee you that's so bad on the end of that thing to be plugged in with me
Right.
playing it, moving it around, and and so I'm sure I just broke it
And you
over
can also
time.
plug in the
With the
Xbox
Xbox, one of the
if
things
you wanted
too
to.
is
Yeah.
is ease of charge. Right. Right. Yeah, you play it exactly. But I think ease of charging helps the Xbox more than the PlayStation because the charging kits that you get for Xbox is like a cradle that you kind of drop the controller into. And that's what I did. I bought a cradle with a rechargeable battery for my original one, so I just dropped it in. It kind of fell in, and they make these for PlayStation, but the only way they work is they have this stupid little dongle that fits into the controller and then wraps under the controller, so it can sit in this tray. But that little dongle is just always getting banged up and moved around because it kind of just fits in that spot. So it's I think it's just harder on the controllers than it is for Xbox because all they have is a plate on
Right.
the back. You pull the plate off, you put it in the rechargeable battery, which has exposed contacts on the bottom, and they just sit in the tray. Or if you're in a pinch and you don't want to plug it in and you don't
Right.
want to charge it, you go grab yourself a couple AA batteries, slap them in there, and say, "All right, I'm ready
They
to play
do.
for a
They
few
do.
sessions."
Depending on the
Or
batteries you
quite a
get, but
while
yeah,
actually.
they
They
will
last
last
a
a while.
while.
You buy some Rayvacs.
Right.
Right.
But you can also buy just Yeah, you can also buy rechargeable AA batteries that you just keep in a recharger, and you're like, oh, I
Yeah,
need
until
two,
the
and there's
rechargeables
six in
get
there, or
bad and you
whatever. You
buy a
just keep
new
swapping
set.
them out
But
until they
but
can't be
yeah, I
used
mean,
anymore.
yeah,
But
you've got so much choice in there, and there's just so many
right,
options, and it's like
so
there's so many times where like I said, I see people online go, well, you could just make sure you play, you're not a hardcore gamer, or well, blah 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 blah, whatever excuse they want to make about not plugging in the PlayStation controller. It's like it's not that. I forget when I'm done. I'm like, I turn it off and I leave. I don't think, oh, I need to plug this in. I do the same thing with my phone. There's many times where I forget to plug my
right,
phone in, and it's like almost dead. And I'm like, oh, I better plug this in.
right,
So it's the same
right,
concept as that. Whereas with an Xbox
right,
controller, I can go and turn on my Xbox, and it's like, oh, your batteries are low, or it just dies, and I'm like, oh, hold on a second, and I go to where my double A's are sitting, and I slap a new set in. I'm like, all right, I'm back. Whereas if we're playing PlayStation, we're playing like Ghost of Tsushima, and it's like, oh, my thing's dead, which has happened when we
yep,
played
ready to go.
before. I had to play connected like super close to the PlayStation because my dang battery died. And I'm
Hmm.
like, oh dang, I should. So I always made sure I tried to charge it before we were going to play, Ghost of Tsushima or
Right.
whatever we were going to play. But it's like I don't like that because sometimes it's so dead that I don't want to play it plugged in, and so I have to just let it charge for an hour or so, and then I'm like, okay, now I
Right.
can go play. When at that time I still want to play, but I was ready to play an hour ago. That was my intention to get on there and start playing, and now I gotta wait.
Right. Right. I mean, I bought a special setup just so I could play my PlayStation with a dead controller. And what I mean by that is I got so tired of forgetting to plug it in, and my
Right.
chair is like 10 feet away from my TV and my PlayStation. I mean, it's like, and so what I did was I went and bought a like $6 IKEA lack table, little bitty lack table that sits next to like a end table next to my chair, and I went online and I bought
Mm,
a a power strip with like a 10-foot cable, and I plugged that sucker in the
there you
wall, and
go.
I screwed that power strip onto the bottom of this lack table, and then I plugged in like a phone charger with a USB cable coming off of it, so I could sit in my chair and play. But all that did was just wreck that port even more because I always played with it plugged in because I would forget to leave it on the charger, or once I did that, I never unplugged the dang thing. So I played with like a wired controller all the time, but that wire is just always only thing holding it in is that metal contact in the end of the controller, and every time I'm moving it around, it's just
Right,
getting
and
jostled
that's one
around, and
thing I've
I'm assuming
noticed.
it's just eventually
That's one thing I've
broke
noticed
the
about
inside of the connectors.
PlayStation, and
So I
I
don't do
want
that
to
with
say
my
the
current
same
one.
for Xbox as well. The USB connector and the controllers are poorly seated. Like they're so loose. Like there needs to be something that locks that connection into the
Hmm.
controller. I don't know what they would do for it, but something that locks it in. Maybe make it. I mean, I would
Right.
hate proprietary. They could make it proprietary where it does have like hinges that go out, that kind of lock it in when you push it in. But I mean, something because they're really
Right.
loose when you plug them in. It doesn't matter which one you plug it into. They're just kind of like
Yeah.
dangling there. They did do that. Yeah,
Who did?
yeah.
Didn't
They have the
Apple
little
do that?
clips that you know.
Didn't Apple do that back in the day where they had the clings like? Yeah, that you had to kind of push,
Right.
kind of like they do with the old. What they do? I shouldn't say
They even
old, but
did
the
that. I don't know
display
if it was
port for
Apple, but they
monitors and
also did
stuff.
that with
They have that
one
clamp
of
that
the
you push
developers
down
did
that
that with
kind of locks
USB
it in.
ports.
Um,
They had like little hinges that would go out. It was proprietary.
mm,
But it was proprietary, right? Only those would go in it
no,
because
nice.
it needed that extra. They needed the extra little oomph on the side so
Yeah,
it could go in there.
you had to buy their special ones. Yeah. I, I mean, I got an Elite 2 controller
Right.
on Xbox, and I don't even like that the battery's embedded because there's no replaceable battery in that one. It's embedded in the thing, and I don't like that. I was really disappointed that I was like, oh, it has its nice little cool dock that you put it in, but I don't really care because
Right.
batteries wear out. That's what they do. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Your playing habits with it are going to kill it. The habit that if I play it until it's completely dead and then charge it, or if I play it for an hour or two and then put it back on
Right.
the charger, all those factors are killing that controller battery over time. So my super expensive controller is not going to last as long as the one that I've had for
Right.
years with my
Exactly. And
Xbox
yeah,
One,
exactly what you said. That's the same
because
for
I can't take
everything.
the battery
Anything
in
that
and
has
out.
an integrated battery
You
is
know,
gonna, it's gonna get bad over time. Where the battery is not gonna last anywhere close to anything. Where the battery is basically gonna be, it's gonna get to the point where the battery is non-existent. Where no, you take that Elite out or you take that PlayStation controller out or whatever, and it's not going to power on, and it's not going to charge, and it's not going to do anything. So what do you do at that point? You have to buy a new one, right?
right?
Right.
Yeah, exactly. So it is what it is. I mean, everybody has their preferences, and you know, every controller is different. I mean, I can complain
Yeah, I
all
don't
day
either.
about the Switch controllers, the Joy Cons. I don't have a Pro controller, so I don't know how good that thing lasts. But the Joy Cons on the Switch seem to die. Like I always forget. I always forget to put those things back on the Switch. If I pull them off, because I got one of
Yeah.
the non-pro, but the
Yeah.
little where you take the Switch controller, the Joy Cons off, and put them in the little handheld piece, and I forget to put them back on the Switch, and next thing I know, I'm like, crap, they're dead. And my only option then is to plug them in
Well,
to
I
the
have
Switch and play it
or I have
undocked, and
four
I
Switch
hate playing my
controllers, or I
Switch
guess two
undocked.
sets, right? Two lefts and two rights. So I can kind of switch them back and forth as they die,
Right.
into the dock. So that helps a bit. Yeah, I mean that helps because you can put two into the
Mm-hmm.
little controller
I need to do that,
thingy,
I guess.
and then two in the dock. And then once they die, once the ones that you're using in the thing die,
Mm-hmm.
then you take the two that are docked out, put them in the thing, and put the ones that are dead into the dock. So then now those are charging where you're playing on a new set. So that's what I did. Unfortunately, some of my original set are have really bad, especially one of them in particular has really bad drift on it, like really really bad drift on it. No, it's like you put it in, it's like it's moving to the right and everything.
So you don't want to
So
play with that one.
you don't want to play with that one, but and then I have two that are I have a red one and a blue one and two black ones. The red one I think is the one that has really bad drift. The blue one has moderate drift, and then the black ones are okay. But the red and the blue ones were the first ones I had when I first got the console. I got the ones with the red and the blue on it, and then so
Right.
you know, but again,
What I got.
the Joy Cons aren't cheap either. So
Right. Exactly. That's why I've been contemplating buying a Pro controller, but I don't know how well those hold up. Because the Pro controller is a little bit more than the
right.
Joy Cons are, and I just
Yeah,
don't
I
want to buy a
haven't heard
Pro
anything about
controller
the Pro
and
controllers
6 months down the road it has the
when it
same
comes to the
problem
drift.
with
So I'm
the
not
drift.
sure.
The Joy-Con did, and
I need to buy one too because those are like standard. I think they're the same styles like Xbox controllers.
right.
So with the sticks and the different spots and everything like that. So I have a
Right.
Pro controller for the Wii U, and I love
Yep.
that. It's a really nice controller. It's very similar to the Xbox controller. So I'm like, and
Hmm.
when I go play on the Wii U, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna. That's the controller I play on. I don't play on the gamepad. I play on the Pro controller because that's what I want to play on. Um, when I go play on that. So,
Right.
well, I have two switches. So
Well,
I
like
have
I
the
said, I never
the
play with my
regular
Switch
Switch, and then I have a
undocked, so
Switch
I
Lite.
always pull the Joy-Cons off
So
and put them in
which
the
is
Pro
doesn't
controller,
dock at all, right? And the Switch Lite is mine. They're both mine, but I gave
which can't
the
dock.
regular Switch to my daughter because
Right.
she really loves playing the Switch. So I gave that to her, and then I bought a Switch Lite for myself because I mainly played the Switch original undocked. Um, that's how I typically played it, and um, so I don't mind the it being undocked with the Switch Lite. But I do want to, because she doesn't play it
Hmm.
much anymore. Because since I got the Series X, I gave my son my Xbox, and then gave her the um, my son's Xbox. So I'm like, and she when she goes into her room now, she just uses the Xbox to play.
Hmm.
Like she'll play the Switch sometimes. So I was thinking about moving the Switch, the original Switch, into my game room because she hasn't played it in quite a while. Because now I have like the Hyrule Warriors game and stuff like that, and I really want to play it on the big screen because it's a really nice looking game. It's a lot of fun, and so I'm like, I really want to play this on the big screen. But what I really need to
Uh,
get though for it though is the Pro controller because, like I
right.
said, my a lot of my Switch controllers have some bad drift. So
Right. Right. And there's some there's some pretty good
well, I
Switch
said
games
that
coming
Hyrule
out that I
Warriors
want to
man
play,
is pretty
and
good.
so I'm probably going to
I'm
end up
really
getting the Pro
liking it.
controller before I end
It's
up
a pretty
playing
fun
those.
game. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean
Well, I
it's
might have to check
kind
it
of
out.
got that Dynasty
I skipped
Warrior
it
feel,
because I'm
but
kind of
it's like
over Dynasty Warrior
I
stuff
don't know.
games. So
It's got a little bit more going on than just because I feel like in Dynasty Warriors all you do is just fight hordes and hordes of enemies, and don't have really much more than just like a normal attack and a
mhm.
heavy attack. Where this one you can use your abilities and stuff. You can use like the special weapons and like the different stuff from Breath of the Wild, like the magnet thing and the bombs and all that stuff. And so I feel like and then you could charge up your sword and do like a big swing with it and everything like that. And then like the levels don't have you just killing enemies. There's objectives and stuff, and they're kind of fun and everything. So yeah, I was having a really good time with it actually. It was, and you can change
Oh,
characters too.
okay.
You can play as Zelda, and you can play as um, what's her name? I don't know, the lady that's always in there. I can't remember her name. She's usually like the wise lady or whatever. But anyway, like Emma or something like that. But you can play as
Hmm.
her, and then I'm sure you can play as other
Oh,
characters in
okay.
too, and they
Yeah.
all play differently, and so you can switch to them on the fly and everything. So that's really cool. Like you can just change it up and say, hey, I want to fight, and she'll be in a different area because they're all AI controlled until you take control of them. So they might be in a different area of the battlefield, fighting different enemies and stuff. So you can just switch how you want and switch over and be like, I want to play as this person now, and you know, so yeah, it's really cool, and I mean, I can understand why the game got pretty good, high
Hmm.
praise, and it got pretty good score because it's out of the Dynasty Warrior type games. It's definitely one that I'd be like, I would, because I'm not really big in those games either. It would definitely one that I'd be like, I kind of recommend this one. This one's pretty good.
All right. Yep. I definitely, I wanted to get it, but then I didn't
Yeah, I
understand what
said
it
the same
was until
thing.
I kind of went
I
into
said
it.
the
I'm
same
like,
thing.
oh,
I got mine.
I don't want a dinosaur game right now.
Excuse me.
I have to be in
I
the mood
got
for it.
mine for super cheap. I got mine for $20. It's a $60 game, but I bought it on. I went out to Best Buy and they had like
Oh, nice.
what did they have? They had like
Yeah. The
oh, it
Nintendo
was for my
names.
birthday. So for my birthday, Best Buy gave me 10% off, and then on Best Buy I had like
Uh,
what $30 worth of credit on
nice.
there. So I applied all that credit to it, and then when it was in the end plus tax, it was like $20 and some change.
Oh, nice.
No, they don't. And I was just like, because I was
I
like,
was gonna
oh,
say,
I'm like, oh,
Nintendo
I
games
was like,
never go on
well, I
sale.
mean,
How'd you
what can I
manage
use this
that
for?
one?
I'm like, I don't know what I want to buy. And then I saw Hyrule Warrior, and I'm like, oh, I kind of want that. And I'm like, oh, I got 10% off because my birthday, and I can apply all these like $20. Okay, I'll try it out. And so, and then when I started playing, I was like, hey, this game's pretty good. I kind of like this.
All right.
So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah, that's
Right. Cool.
yeah,
Yep.
because we're
I need to
starting
buy me a new
to,
Pro Controller. Is what
you
I'm
know,
gathering from all
for
this, so
everyone
I can get
watching,
ready
all
for some
three
Nintendo
people,
Switch games.
um, a little hint that we're gonna actually start reviewing quite a bit in March, specifically, quite a few Switch games. I,
Right. Yep. So yeah,
I like
I'm gonna
60
get
or
me a Pro
70
controller.
bucks.
I will get one, but
Uh,
I think they're pretty expensive, aren't they? Aren't they still like six?
yeah, they
Yeah,
better not.
it's a little rough, but they better not have drift issues then for $70, because that's even
They're
more than
60, yeah.
I mean
So,
that's a little bit more than like a
Nintendo
PlayStation
Switch
Xbox
Pro
controller. Aren't they normally like
controller.
60? What those guys
This is
are?
on Amazon, and
So
it's why doesn't it show me a price? Oh, we have to add it to the cart to see your price. Yeah,
you
there's
sold
60
out.
bucks.
That's why
It's
you sold out.
59. It's $59. Oh wait,
Ah.
why is it?
Oh, cool. That's good.
Oh,
59. I can do that. So they're
there
on
we go.
par
We
with
got the
everybody
free
else.
shipping. Yeah, 63.78 altogether for a yeah. But man, you'll get it by March 3rd.
That's not bad.
I guess it's
So
next
so sixty
Wednesday, so
dollars.
that's
That's
not
on
bad
par with
actually.
everybody else's controllers. But I mean, all right. Because I mean, I don't know. I haven't read too much on the Switch Pro controller, but I don't know what they're saying
It's
it's worth.
not. It's just a regular
Same
controller.
cost as a DualShock PS4 or
I don't
an
even
Xbox controller. I
know.
don't know. It
It
doesn't
doesn't have
vibrate.
no head. I don't think it does the.
Does it have feedback
Well,
or
I'm
anything
sure
like
it's
that?
got
Because
Rumble, but
that's a
oh,
lot.
it has the HD Rumble.
Oh, it's got Rumble. It says HD Rumble built in.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's got
Um,
the built-in
yeah, that's
Amiibo
what it says. HD
functionality
Rumble.
as
It also
well.
says supports motion controls and this is probably why.
So it's basically like the Switch
Yeah,
controller, but in
that's what I was getting ready to say. So
actual
you can do the
controller
little
form.
amiibos on it. It detects what it's what you're.
It does have
pulling.
motion controls as well.
Yeah. I guess that makes sense. I mean, because that little near field, right? Yep, motion controls, and then the near field for the little amiibos. You know, especially like Starlink and all those other games that have the we could build a thing and put it on the controller, and it detects what you put on there, so you can unlock things like
Right.
like they
Yeah.
did in Zelda and all that stuff. You can unlock things with
So
Zelda
yeah,
if you had the
so
amiibos
it's
for
definitely the Switch the Pro controller is. I mean, I've always wanted a Pro controller, and so I might buy one.
that. Yep, me too. Yeah, especially if we're gonna get more Switch games in play. So, especially because Monster Hunter,
Right.
that's coming out soon on
You
Switch.
know
I want
what?
to play that, and there's
I
no way
went
I'm gonna be
ahead
able
and
to play
bought
that with the
one.
Joy Cons.
It'll be here on. It'll be here on Wednesday. Yeah, because I was thinking Monster Hunter 2. I'm like, you know what? You're right.
I will
Monster
get one.
Hunter. Gonna. I don't want to play. I mean, I
But I
played the
don't.
demo and I liked it. I did, but I don't want to play with the Switch, the little switchy thingies. I'd rather play with a
Mhm.
regular controller. So if we're gonna, and it has multiplayer, even though the Switch's multiplayer component
Mhm.
kind of sucks, but um, we'll give it a try. And so yeah, so I
We'll give it
bought
a
a
try.
Pro so I can play it pro like.
Cool.
Nope. Like I said, I'm probably gonna move the
Not
Switch
have to
into the
play
game room
with
because
those Joy Cons.
I got some other games, but besides Hyrule Warriors, I got some other ones that I'd like to play on the big screen. And
All right.
buy her a
Yep.
light,
I'm
buy
gonna
her a
move my
Switch light, and be like,
Switches
here
up in
you
the
go,
living room
play
because
on
the
that.
girlfriend's been playing it a lot, especially since Animal Crossing came out. So
Animal
she
Crossing.
can just come get it when she's ready to play something else.
Yeah.
Because the only thing she's played on it is Animal Crossing, the new one. So
Right.
yeah. So
Yeah,
I play the other stuff on it.
yeah, exactly.
Zelda and Mario
And
and all
that's what
that
I was
stuff.
thinking about
So
because like I said, my daughter, she hasn't played it in like months now. And then when she does play it, she usually takes it off the dock because she'll take it off the dock and play like the only thing she plays that she wants to keep in the dock for, which has to stay in the dock,
mm.
is Mario Party, Super Mario Party. Otherwise, yeah, you have to keep it docked. Otherwise, everything else is
I'll stay in
undocked.
the dock for
So
that.
she likes Super Mario Maker too, but she only likes to play it when it's docked or when it's undocked, because then she can use the touch screen.
So
You can't
so
play
how
them.
does games like that work on the light
Mm-mm.
that you can't dock?
Yeah,
The ones that can't be
yeah.
undocked? Oh, you can't? I didn't know that. I didn't know there was
Which one game
restrictions
was
on
it again?
games. Wow. So that game won't
Oh
work on
yeah,
the
yeah.
light,
No, it
huh?
won't. No, nope.
The one you said that has to
Yeah,
stay
if you
docked,
look
the
on the
party, I
back, I
think,
think
or
it's on
whatever
the
one you
back
said.
of them, or on Nintendo's website,
Wow.
they'll tell
Didn't
you
even
if it
realize
can be
that.
used with a light or not. Yeah, like 1-2 Switch, you can't have for it. Super Mario Party can't be
Oh
used on
wow.
it.
I didn't even realize they had that
Yeah,
much restrictions.
there's some other games too that you can't use the light for.
Huh.
It won't work because you have to have
Wow. Didn't
switches
even realize that.
undocked out so
Interesting.
you can go whoop 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 whoop, whoop like that, and the light doesn't detect any of that stuff.
Motion.
So yeah, yeah. Which most of the games that
So,
do that,
interesting.
I
Well, that's
that's
interesting. No, I
one
didn't know
reason why I
that.
bought myself a light is because most of the games that do that I don't care to play anyway. Um, Super Mario Party is fun, but the new Super Mario Party is not as fun as the older
Right. They're
versions.
party
And
games that you
then
can.
1-2 Switch and some of the other ones I don't really care about. So all the ones that I want to play on the light don't require it. So I'm just like, okay.
Gotcha.
Right.
Hmm. Yeah, they're more party-based games where everybody can. You can have multiple Joy Cons, right? Hmm. Be like, but it's like the old Wii boxing, right? two people boxing, or the old
Yes,
Mario parties
exactly.
where four people could have a Wiimote. You know. Gotcha.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah,
mean,
that makes
it's
sense.
mainly
What are you
for
gonna
the
do?
games that
Pass the
you don't
Nintendo
want to
Lite
play
around?
that with. So you know, I got my light just to play a lot of the single player games and stuff. That was the whole reason because that's mainly what I used it for. Briar, she liked a lot of the multiplayer games and a lot of the games where you had the motion control and stuff, which is understandable. Kids like that stuff. But for me, I liked more of the single player experiences, so I didn't need that fancy setup. I didn't
Mhm.
mind it not being docked, but there are certain games that I played on there that I'm like I kind of wish it was docked. So that's why I'm like, I might. I wish the light.
Yeah.
What Nintendo should have done with the light. I understand they mainly wanted to make it a handheld console, and I get that. But what they should have done is they should have just added the display port to it, to where
Right.
if you already owned a dock or you bought a dock, you could dock it, right? Or you could even plug it in, right? Maybe it had a display to HDMI dock,
Right.
or HDMI to HDMI or something like that on there, where you could just set it down, plug it in, and then play it, or something along those lines. There's something that you could do to where you could dock it if you wanted to. I don't think that would have added. I don't know for sure, but I don't think it would have added much
Hmm.
more money to it. So I think they should have went that. It is hard to tell, but I think they should have went that route with it
Hard to
because
tell.
as much as you
Yeah, I
like
think
to
so.
play
I
it
mean,
as a handheld, and that's why most people bought it. There might be an instance like myself where I do want it to be docked to play something else.
right. Yeah. I'm. I have a tendency of. I have a tendency of looking at it like I have this huge TV.
Right.
Why do I want to play on this 5-inch screen or whatever? It's like I got a giant screen TV for a reason to play games, and now so I play it. I I have probably played that.
Right.
I've
And
probably
I
played the
don't.
Switch less than an hour on
Uh,
dock myself, as much as I've owned it.
I played it more on docked, but you know, I don't know. I think more now, especially now that I bought a pro controller. Um, I probably play it more more docked. Plus, I also have the Super Nintendo and the NES
Right.
um, controllers that they came out with for it. Remember? Yeah, they were wireless retro controllers. I have those for
Oh,
both of them.
the retro
So,
controllers.
when I'm playing like the NES
Uh-huh.
classics or the
Oh
Super
man, I
NES
want
classic
those
games
so
that are on
bad.
there, I can plug one of those in, and it's like when I've done it on the mini because it does work on the mini on the light. I can sync it to the light and play it, but it's like, man, I really like to play this more on the bigger screen, so I can just sit back and play like, like I was like old school, like I was just playing a Nintendo game or a Super Nintendo game, like back in the day,
Right.
instead of playing on this little bitty screen. So
Right. Yep. Exactly. Those are. Yeah, but like I said, I'm a graphic snob, and there's no getting around that. That's just what I like to do, and part of it is I like to see
I
my
was
stuff on
watching
the
a
big
thing
screen.
they had
If I
that.
could own a
I
movie
don't think
theater, I'd like to play
here
my
where we
video
live,
game on the
but
movie
down in
theater
Texas
screen
they
just
have
to
where you
try it
can.
out.
I guess because of COVID and stuff, since they haven't had the movie theaters open and stuff, they were doing a thing where you could rent out a movie screen. It was like so much for an hour or two or something like that, and they would hook up any classic console you had to the projector, and you could play any game you wanted to on the big. Uh, any console, and you could hook it up to the, you know,
Only classic consoles though.
projector and play it for however many long.
Oh,
In the video they show they were playing Mario Kart 8 on the Wii U,
that'd be awesome.
but yeah, wouldn't that be
Can
cool?
you imagine?
You
That'd
couldn't
be
bring
pretty
food and
awesome to
drink. You
go
had to
play
buy their
Mario
food and
Kart with the
drink,
four
but
of us in a freaking rented out theater.
it would still be cool.
Well, whatever. It'd still be great. I cannot imagine.
You know what
I
I would
cannot
play?
imagine playing any kind of, even
Fusion
like the old Wii
Frenzy.
games, where you can have 4-player games like the Wii Party games. Mario
It
Tennis.
would be cool. I love Fusion Frenzy. Yeah,
That would be cool.
yeah, that would be cool.
But I would love to do some. I'd love to do some Mario Kart 4 players on the
Well, I
giant
mean,
screen.
think about it though. Split
But
screen with that
but
giant
you would each
theater
have
screen.
your
It was like
own
it'd be
theater
like
because
having
I don't want
your
to
own
split screen that
50-inch.
thing.
It'd be like having your own like 70-inch TV sitting in front of you.
I don't care. I want a whole screen to
four,
myself.
four,
I want
four, four movie
I want my own
screens,
giant movie theater screen to myself.
theater screens, theater showings, all playing Mario Kart, all multiplayer. That would be nuts,
Theater.
man. That would be
Yep.
crazy. Yeah, that would be crazy. I wish
Yep.
they would do something like that here. I
We
mean,
each
they
have our
might,
own.
but
Theaters
I
1 through
haven't heard
4
anything
booked.
about
And everybody.
that.
Yeah. Maybe.
Well, I don't know.
Well, I don't even know. Are the theaters closed here or not? I don't remember what I heard last. I think they're open, aren't they?
I don't
They're showing
know.
like limited
I haven't
seatings or something.
looked.
So I mean, we could still show movies here. I thought, but I could be wrong.
I know Tom and
Yeah.
Jerry's coming out this weekend. Oh yeah, I guess so. 'Cause the Springfield 11 is showing Tom and Jerry
Like, let's see.
tomorrow. The Crudes,
So they got to be
the Little
showing.
Things. Yeah, they got all sorts of movies. Playing.
Right.
They're even doing Lord of the Rings on the IMAX.
So they got to be doing like. They got to be doing like limited
the
showings
Return
or
of the
something.
King at
So
6:15 and Two Towers.
interesting. Oh, you can do. You could do make a private movie date. So you can take your sweetheart out to a solo date or invite your squad to celebrate Valentine's Day with a movie screening in your own AMC safe and clean
Can we
theater
play Mario
for
Kart?
$99. Interesting. 1 to 20 guests only.
Can we plug Mario Kart in? If
I don't know
so,
how they're
we're
doing it.
coming.
Yeah, let's go. Well, yeah, will they do Mario Kart? Can we plug Mario Kart in? All right. Yep. Unfortunately, due to COVID, we can't do a
Right.
whole lot of stuff. I mean, we talked about even going up to like Top Golf and stuff, but that's like out of the question
Yeah,
now
Wii
until all this
Sports.
stuff settles down. So.
Do the golfing
Yeah, there we go.
or
Wii
the
Sports.
bowling or the boxing on the big screen.
Yep, there you go. We'll golf or the boxing.
Yeah, it would. It would be.
Wii boxing. Yeah, that'd be interesting to do Wii boxing on the big screen, or any game for that matter. I mean, I don't know how that would.
I would think the
correspond.
Wii
Imagine
boxing or
just
bowling
standing
would
there
be
with
hard
this
because you have
giant
the camera.
theater just in the middle of
You
it.
have to have the
trying play a
camera
game.
with it, so or the sensor, and the sensor would be like probably not able to pick you up, but
Right.
maybe something different.
Right.
But still, yeah, that would still be cool. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah. I mean, they have the area between like the
Right. You just move the
stadium
sensor
seating
closer
and
and,
the
yeah,
the ground
full
level
sensor.
seating where you could set something up there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. There you go. You just have to look up the whole time.
It's
you're
like I've been
playing, you're
sitting in the
this.
front row the whole time.
30 minutes later, you're like, oh, my neck. Right?
Oh,
My
man.
neck, because I spent an hour and a half just doing this.
That would be cool. Maybe one of these days.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
That'd be cool.
I'm sure we could rent it
I wish
out.
we could do that.
If we pay them enough money, they'll do
Who says you
anything.
can rent it out? One of these days, yeah. $99.
Well, I think that's how
Well,
much
now
it
it says
was for the
$99
ones
to
in
book
Texas
us,
was $100 to
at the
do like an
AMC.
hour of
Oh, but there's no times left.
Mario Kart or whatever for an hour. Yeah, that would be cool. 2 hours.
That'd be
We
cool. I'd
do
do it for
2
an hour
hours,
or two.
$200. Everybody
Like
pitch in
everybody pitch in,
$100 a
200
piece.
bucks.
Or
$200. How many people are
I
gonna
mean,
take with us?
yeah, maybe 4 hours. Then, $50 a piece, and then and then
Well,
no,
that'd be more.
no, we
don't
do
have to
200 a
50 bucks
piece. 200 goes in our pocket, and then we pay 200. So we don't pay anything. It's the people that we invite that pay. It's $100 a piece, everybody. Okay, we get 1 hour. Thanks.
Right. Everybody else paid.
This has been fun.
We facilitated
$400 for 1 hour.
1 hour. Right. That'd be cool. I all right. Yep. I mean, I don't know how much money they make,
Right.
but they have to make a
I would
lot when you consider
imagine.
movie
You
ticket
know, they have
theaters
the people. You know,
cost movie
if they
tickets
get
cost $15 to
the
$20
people
a
that want to
pop
come in
here
and do
sometimes.
something like
So
that, then yeah,
they
they've
got
got to make enough money. So, or at least enough to continue that type of operation.
all right.
All right. Well, I
Yeah.
guess we'll. You
Cool.
know, I guess at this point we'll go ahead and get off. I
All
mean,
right.
we've been streaming for 2 hours and 20 minutes. So,
Yep. Yep. Hope you
yeah.
guys liked it. Check it out. Let us know what you thought, what you think
Yeah,
we
for
need to do
sure.
better, or what you liked, or
Exactly.
anything.
I'm sure we'll
We like to
stream
hear
again
from
in
you.
the
Check it
future.
out and
So,
drop us a
be
line.
on the lookout for more
Don't forget to
streams.
like and subscribe our channel.
We'll do more. Try to get the other guys included in this as well. So,
Right.
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 Yeah,
We'll
it's
start
just
trying to get
it's
these
just a time
scheduled
for us to
timely so
hang
that they're
out
the
and just
same
talk.
time
Really,
every week or every other
make
week or
sure you
something. We'll get
interact through the
something
chat
scheduled
and just
at that
talk
time.
and yeah, it's for all of us to kind of interming together. If you're not saying anything, me and Patrick or whoever is just gonna sit here and spout off about a bunch of craps. But you know, make sure you interact and say something in the chat because we'll
Ramble.
respond to it. But yeah,
Right.
oh yeah, for sure. We can keep going, but we gotta stop eventually.
Yeah, as you can see, we'll talk about
We'll
video
run out
games
of
for
things
hours. We
to
could go
talk
more,
about next time.
Right. All right. Right. All right. Well, we'll catch you guys.